Welcome back to Shifting Focus. Some very special guests today, locals. Please introduce yourselves.
My name is Frans.
I'm Brooke.
And who are you?
We have a little farm called Freestate Farm, about 45 minutes from here. So we produce some raw milk, some pork, beef, microgreens, flowers, and kids, apparently, because we have a lot of them.
That's right.
How many? Well, you say a lot. How many is a lot?
Well, we have 5. My goal is a football team, but, I don't know. We'll see.
You'll settle for a basketball team for
Yeah,
roller coaster.
So,
A little bit, yeah.
So, yeah. Well, either way, that's how we found you, through my sister and the farming stuff. But let's rip the Band-Aid off. You said raw milk. Is that allowed to be sold in America?
So each state, it's allowed to be sold. So each state has different rules and whatnot. Texas, it's legal for sale for the goal of human consumption. In Florida, it's not. Like the way we do it, you have to. So there's a couple of things you have to do. So one of the things is you have to have a label that specifically says either not for human consumption or animal product or animal food or something like that.
It's legal for the sale of animal.
Yes.
That's why we buy it just for our dog, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. Blue loves it.
Right.
Blue meaning the guy in the blue shirt.
And if there's leftovers, then we get some.
Yeah, you might get a little.
My dog eats it and loves to drink it. This is my dog.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're all animals, right? But so that's the thing. There's there's a pretty large company, large dairy that sells their raw milk all over the place in stores and stuff. Same thing. They have their little label, says not for human consumption.
Then people do what they will.
Right. I mean, some people go to Walmart and buy dog food. I can't tell them what to do with it. Right. If you want to eat dog food, go for it. If there's some benefit in it.
Pepperoni.
Yeah, pepperoni or some dog chow.
You're telling me none of you guys ate dog food as a kid and snuck it in?
We actually, who is it? Is it Frank that likes dog food, or is it cat food? Yeah. One of our kids right now, I actually talked to him, was it yesterday, a couple days ago? Yeah.
Frank used to be
he was like,
very
he still likes it. Yeah.
Oh, wait, he still likes it.
He still likes it. He told me a couple days ago.
18 years old? How old?
Yeah, 21. No. So luckily he's 4, but he told me a couple days ago, I was like, yeah, I like cat food. I'm like, all right, that's how your breast stinks, dude.
Okay.
Is that you? Are you a cat food?
No, it wasn't a cat food. I was a cat litter. I ate the cat litter as a kid.
Whoa.
Yeah, once.
Not for human consumption.
I know it's not my proudest moment, but my mom did come home one night from work and she couldn't find me, and I was upstairs face deep in the cat litter.
Please tell me it was a clean batch.
Fresh step.
I can't promise, but I don't know. I don't know the details. I just know my mom said that I was.
Maybe you found some nuggets, huh? Hopefully not.
Just right in the teeth.
Yeah.
Maybe
The crunchiness or something?
Maybe commercials on TV where they're like, that delicious kitty litter. I don't know, fluffy. And I thought it was a marshmallow. I have no idea what went through my head, but I ate it.
So what is the whole backstory to why they don't want people eating raw or drinking raw milk?
So allegedly it's for health reasons.
There's been some issues historically.
Bacterial, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but if you think about it, if you do a little research, you can look at, stuff like E. coli, right? And people get sick from it and some people can die from it, right? But if you look at it, where does it normally break out?
Lettuce.
Human feces in the fields, produce?
But I mean, it's not so much in the U.S., right? It's more third world countries where they don't have a lot of cleaning supplies, clean water, stuff like that. And they kind of they do what they can, right? So things get dirty. Things get pooped on. Right. So whereas here, if you have proper systems of keeping things clean and sanitizing, and I get super anal about my process of cleaning stuff, right? If anybody steps in, they're like, oh, I'll do it today. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm going to, even if you did it, even if it got done, like if my mom shows up and she's like, hey, I helped out. I'm like, I'm still going to do it because I have my process where I know the stuff's been sanitized over and over, right? And then also the health of the animal, keeping them healthy, making sure it starts from nutrition to space to roam, exercise. None of our animals, even the pork, even the hogs we have, none of them are raised in in pens, right? They have 4 or 5 acres that they roam under oak forest, and they're eating acorns and they root and they get exercise, and so it's healthy, everything's healthy. But so now here's the thing. I have seen bigger dairies and the way they do things. If you actually,
Like a pasteurized dairy.
like a big,
You wouldn't want to
bigger,
drink that.
you wouldn't want to drink it. If
You would not want a pasture raised?
No. If you saw,
Pasteurized.
if you saw how
want to
these
drink that milk
commercial dairies, how they're cleaning and how that milk gets.
The health of the animal.
You
what all
would
actually
you would
goes
not
through.
want to
Gotcha.
drink that raw. You'd be like, thank God it's pasteurized.
What does
because-
that look like? Walk
way
us
there's-
through, because people don't know. Is there? And I know you don't have to be experts on
Yeah,
it, but
no.
what have you seen that maybe people
Just
aren't aware of?
the cleanliness, the way they handle the animals. Like I would almost say on an emotional and spiritual level, they're very rough with these animals, right? It's just the animal's just a number. It's
a product.
They don't care. It's a product. They'll smack them to get into that chute. They'll do whatever. And I mean, we've seen this. And
They're not
so
properly caring for the udder.
like you can
making sure
see
the health of the
right.
teats. There's no cuts, cracks, or they don't care.
So
and
is that the mucus and the bacteria in the blood that everybody sees in milk? Where they're like, don't drink raw milk because you're drinking all this bacteria.
Hysteria.
Right, but that's not because that's the whole thing. The upfront game, like the taking care of the udder and the animal and everything. That's what we like. Literally, I'm there, hands on, and I inspect the entire udder every single time I milk. Right, I clean it by hand, I sanitize it, and I look for anything that might show, signs of like, hey, something happened here. Whereas these commercial guys, they don't have to. They have hundreds of cows that they have to get in, milk them in 5 minutes or less, get them out next. And from a cleanliness standpoint, it's not the best. And I'm not speaking for everybody.
Sure.
Of course, everybody has different standards, but from some of the stuff that I have seen, it's kind of makes you go, thank God that's pasteurized. Because
I mean, it's not a secret anymore that commercial livestock is just not cared for well.
and it's kind of like a lot of the foods like in pasteurized milk, like I don't remember the percentages and the numbers, but there's a certain amount of blood allowed, allowables, like the
All
blood,
types of
the pus, bacteria, all sorts of stuff that's allowed in pasteurized milk that, I mean, it gets mixed in a big old, 80,000 gallon vat and all that gets in there, and there's going to be particles and
they'll test
Yummy.
positive
They
for
have
it and still
allowable
sell it.
measurements.
right.
Yeah, we realize that it sounds like the supplement industry in some aspects where we work with people and the same thing where they had products was sent in from another country where it says not for human consumption to enter the States. And then it says the lab work came back, salmonella and yeast. And the vendor literally told the guy, I can't sell this. It has this. And the guy goes, who cares? Put it in the market.
Yeah. It's
Because
wild.
like it'll cover up. They won't get sick. It's like, yeah, but it's still in there. Why would I sell that?
Right.
So when these commercialized farmers distribute all this milk out into these big 18-wheelers, where does the milk go? What's the process? What do they do when they pasteurize? What does that mean necessarily to people?
What
who
is
can understand?
pasteurized in general?
Yeah.
The heating process, heating to the point of pasteurization to kill off any harmful bacteria.
And in that process, are they killing off all the good
too.
stuff? Yeah. What are they?
What
So-
nutrients are missing?
Okay, so interesting. Like a lot of things, people don't really research, right? Because a lot of people get told certain things and they go, "Oh, this must be true," right? Just because somebody said something, it must be true.
I
right?
read an article.
Unless,
I
right,
saw it.
It's on the food pyramid.
until they get told the actual truth and they go, "No, that sounds too true."
You're a
This must-
conspiracy theorist, bro.
Right,
That's
right.
not real. That'll
That'll
never happen.
Right. So if you go on the FDA's website,
They trustworthy people already.
trustworthy. But what's funny is they have an article about raw milk, and they explain exactly what happens when you pasteurize milk, right? And it kills off. Literally, it says through pasteurization, it kills off all the vitamins that's in there, B6, B12, the omegas, literally everything that is good.
Enzymes.
All the enzymes.
things
It
that make
says
beneficial.
everything gets killed off, right?
Just so it's
And then what
safe enough.
happens, right? And then what happens is everything that got killed off still stays in that milk, right? So there's a bunch of dead cells, and now it's pasteurized, so now it's safe, and you consume that, right? And at the end of the article, it says they still don't see the benefit of drinking raw milk over pasteurized milk, even though they literally just mentioned everything that gets killed off. So, so what are you drinking? You're drinking dead milk, white water, right? And there's so many studies that have come out recently about people that, I know back in the 60s and 70s, they had all these, in the 80s, all these ads, get your milk, drink your milk, calcium, you got to have strong bones and whatever. Well, if you look at people who are in retirement homes, they're constantly breaking bones. So what happened? I get it. You get old, you're getting a little weaker. But if you've been slamming gallons of milk, where's all that calcium? Where's all your strong bones all of a sudden? Shouldn't you be a little stronger instead of just walking around a corner and you're twisting your ankle and you're breaking your back and your hip, right? But what's going to happen if you kill everything that's good in there?
Bioavailable.
Yeah, your body's probably not taking up the stuff that it needs to actually do the job. So, and then if you think about, you know, we get told certain things about what is safe for you. Take this thing because it's for your safety. Is it?
Heard that a couple years ago.
I don't know, right? Is it really? Yeah. You know, if it's so safe, why do you have to convince me to take it? Right?
Give you donuts and French fries if you take it.
Right? Yeah, please take it and have celebrities endorse it. Like that makes no sense, you know. And then what's funny too is about the raw milk thing. Why is there such a big war on it?
That's what I want to know.
Think about it. Like if you can show the numbers where people just die every day from this thing, then got it. Sure.
Why don't they take salmon off or any seafood or something, chicken off the market if salmonella is a possibility?
Right. Or exactly, because there's a possibility. Yeah. Look at sushi. I mean, man, there is some bad stuff. People, you know, they've tested it and be like, yeah,
mercury,
you're eating
all that.
Right.
But
and
what's
then
the key to that?
Right.
Where are you sourcing your food from? Are you sourcing it from a reliable restaurant? Are you sourcing it from people who know how to handle the product?
It's the same industry. It's the same concept. It just boils down to which industry and whose pockets are getting lined.
Yeah.
Right.
I did have a question that you said that the milks are being depleted of all these nutrients, but how can they market vitamin D, whole milk, if there's no vitamin D? What are they adding?
It's technically in there. It's just a dead cell version, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, it's still in there, right?
But what are they adding?
They can add whatever they. I mean, I'm not saying what they're doing because I don't know what they're doing. But so funny thing. A few days ago, my mom got, because she lives on the property with us, and it's, you know, we're going back to old school ways, and I guess call it traditional or whatever, to where, and I've told my parents this when I was a little kid, like when I was like 7, 8 years old, I was like, one day I'm going to take care of you guys, and they were like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, no, you're going to live with me. You know, that's how we're going to do it, and that's what we're doing. So she helps out a lot on the property and with the kids, you know, so obviously kids are with somebody right now, but she likes to spoil the kids and bring them little treats and stuff. So she brought them these little muffins, you know, these little mini muffins, and
store-bought,
right? And, you know, before I could even say, hey, let me check the ingredients, because we're big on check your ingredients. If you can't pronounce something, get rid of it, throw it away. It's junk, it's crap. And, but they opened it up. Each one had them. And I asked my mom, I was like, hey, like, did you check that? Is that stuff like good? And she's like, yeah, it's blueberry muffins, you know? So I take the
blueberry muffin.
No, it has a blueberry, this size, right? Beautiful blueberry muffin. But then when on the bottom side, on the side, it has all the ingredients that it's so small, right? I had to be like, oh, you know, and stuff I couldn't even, I thought it was like in a different language, right? And I told her, I was like, these are not. She was like, yeah, but it's healthy. It's blueberry. And I'm like, no, that's called marketing. That's called advertising. Yeah. They are selling you something because most people aren't going to read. You're in a hurry. You're going to go, oh, that must be a blueberry. Blueberries are great for you, right? And then you look at it and there's no blueberry in there. Yeah. It's all artificial.
Having sugar for breakfast is probably not the best thing right now.
Yeah. Right. So, you know, so she was like, well, throw it to the pigs. And I'm like, no, I'm not even feeding it to the pigs, because our pigs eat healthy, because at the end of the day, it goes into their system, it goes into their meat, and then people consume it. And I'm like, no, it's going into the trash. Right. And she was kind of, you know,
upset give it a break.
Oh, you know,
it's not that serious.
Pigs can eat anything. And I was like, yeah, they can, but they're not going to.
You ate this stuff and you're fine.
And we had that exact argument. We had she said the exact thing. She was like, you ate this stuff when you were a kid. And I was like, that didn't make it okay.
Right.
We were uneducated. We didn't know, you know, because back then, you know, it's like, oh, here's orange juice. And it's like, and when you look at it's all sugar, you know,
when you were a kid, though, especially in South Africa.
Of course, yeah.
Wait a second. Say that again.
Yeah, so growing up in South Africa,
I grew up overseas.
Are you African American?
I am. I'm glad you asked me that, dude. It's so funny. So when I was in the Navy, I had this buddy of mine, and he's a very by the book kind of guy. You know, like this is brown. This is not a shade of anything. You know. And I'd always mess around, you know, people are like, oh, so you're from South Africa? And I'm like, yeah, I'm African American. And he would get so angry. You know, he'd be like, no, you're not. And I'm like,
You're like skin color
literally
doesn't dictate it.
born in Africa and I'm an American citizen. It's African American, you know? So, yeah.
But I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were going to say something. But that was, I heard a little bit of an accent.
Yeah, it comes out. It comes out every now and
Yeah,
then.
it's good. But what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, where you're from, especially as a child, there wasn't all this crap in your food.
No.
So that is true what she's saying. Like,
So it is true. I mean, there were some things, but we grew up in a farming community. You know, it's a big part of the lifestyle there.
You and Elon.
And right, Elon, right? Best buds. So we would every Sunday we would actually drive a couple miles to a local farmer, and we kind of lived slightly outside of town, and we'd go to a local farmer, and we'd take this big 5-gallon pail with a lid, and we'd go there and just tap fresh raw milk, take it home, and my mom would have like a fresh bread, and we'd take that cream and we'd scoop off the cream and eat it on the bread, and you know, never had any issues, autoimmune, anything like that back home. And then a few years in the US and things that get put in your body in the military and things you consume, and autoimmune issues pop up, and it's like, oh, that's funny. It's kind of, I'm not a mathematician, but you can do the math. You can figure that out.
1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a coincidence. You're crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm crazy. Yeah, it's that conspiracy thing, you know?
Do you want to go into that part yet, or you want to continue talking about the milk stuff?
Let's stay on the farm topic.
Yeah,
What
I
else
have
you
a
got?
few. Yeah, I got some more questions.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about this cream on the top of the milk, what can people expect when they get milk from you? And what do they do with it? How long does it last?
Yeah.
What, walk us
when they're
through.
giving it to their animals, what do they do with it?
yeah. So with unpasteurized or unhomogenized milk, you get the cream rising to the top. It stays in its true natural form, and it's just your full heavy cream that you would buy from the store is literally just stacked on top.
Mm-hmm.
And then underneath that is skim milk. That's where they get the word skim milk, because the cream can get skimmed from the top, and that's what remains. So
when I want to buy cream from you, I should just skim it from the top of my milk. That's the cream.
you could, but then you'll be left with skim milk.
And that's not fun.
It's not as tasty.
So you just mix it all up to make the whole milk?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
what we normally do. If we have a big amount, and let's say today I milked 20 gallons and we only sell 10, then she will normally skim, the other, part, and then either sell it as cream or make butter. But as far as like the time frame on how long is good, we constantly kind of test it to where I'll have like a half gallon. I'll kind of put it in the back corner of the fridge, or like keep it in we have like 4, I don't even know. Do we have 4 fridges? I think many fridges. And I'll kind of like hide it in a spot. And about 12 to 13 days later, I'm like, okay, let's try this milk, shake it up, drink it, still good. So 13, 14 days, it still tastes good.
7
And-
for optimal.
Yeah.
I would say.
For for people who buy it for their pets to consume, we normally tell them a week. If you're keeping milk in your fridge for longer than a week, then you should
You're not
probably
drinking it.
reevaluate your life decisions and
Should drink more milk.
Yeah, yeah, just drink more milk.
real.
So to get 2% milk, you just pour out 98% of it? And
Yeah, pretty much. Just and then fill it with water.
Have you guys seen on the back of the ice cream containers now, which has been so shocking? It says bioengineered ingredients
Isn't that wild?
on the ice cream. I'm like, wait
No.
a second. This isn't even milk.
Which part is bioengineered? You
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
Cow
wonder.
bioengineered?
Yeah,
Could be.
yeah. So we haven't seen that because we
Don't eat ice cream?
Do you,
we
make,
oh no
You
we
can
we
eat
s- we slam some ice
do you
cream.
make your own ice cream?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's
Well,
that's happening. That's coming up
That's
soon.
the weakness. You
That is.
checking out a grocery store and grab
What
some
ice cream?
Tubs.
Oh,
what ice
yeah.
cream do you buy?
So
He's an Haagen-Dazs guy.
Haagen-Dazs is
Haagen Dazs is
clean.
pretty clean. I
There's
think
some
that
from Everman's.
yeah,
I don't know
Everman's
if I've
has
ever been
some.
there.
We go to
Some
Everman's
organic.
and get some organic stuff.
I think it's called Aldean's or something. Aldens or
Aldens or Aldines. Yeah, The thing is, I eat it so fast, I don't even read the name because it's gone. Yeah, it's just
So we can't have it in the house.
We can't have it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, that's the thing.
If we buy it that night, it's going in the garbage can that night.
Oh yeah, same.
So you're the same.
We're the
Your
same.
ice cream machine.
We are.
We'll
We
be
are.
on the couch and be like feeling lazy and like Uber Eats a tub.
Yeah.
It's gone right
He
away.
doesn't just Uber eat himself a tub. He's like, misery loves company.
sure.
I'm
Oh,
taking
yeah.
you
I'm
down
not
with
going
me.
down by myself.
And
you
I,
have to.
I can't be controlled. I'm like, I have to eat the whole thing. I have no self-control.
So if I want ice cream, 2 tubs of just two of those personal. They're not even personal tubs, but they become personal tubs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those pints are too small.
and you black out. You look
yeah.
down, you're like, it's gone, where'd it go?
Right.
And then you don't sleep at night. You wake up in the morning feeling like garbage and you do it again. You're like,
you
have
just
I
do it
not
again.
learned my
I
lesson?
can't do it.
You can't?
I'm like maybe a cup.
Well, you're just better than
And I'm
us.
done.
Yeah,
A
she's
cup?
just
So there's
yeah.
only really 2 cups. And it says 4, but they're lying. There's no way that's 4 cups, right?
I can never even eat half of.
Same.
Yeah.
Must be
Yeah,
nice.
she'll, yeah.
I mean, I can go to town on pizza, like put a pizza in front of me and I'll eat half of it. But ice cream, I like some and then I'm done.
And see, I'm the opposite. I can eat like a slice of pizza, maybe 2, and I'm like, nah.
Are you more sweet and you're more carby, like salty?
I need sweet after my salty.
Yeah.
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 That's me, baby.
Yeah, I like that
right.
too.
Yeah.
I like
Have the
both.
pizza and I go, where's the ice cream?
Either way, just give me the ice cream.
How did you guys get started in this? What's the whole story that brought you to wanting to raise cattle and have a farm, besides you saying you want to take care of your mom at a young age? But what brought you into where you are right now?
So I would say for me, it's always been like in the back of my mind, right? Just because of where I grew up, I have a lot of family overseas that have farms. And when
Massive
I talk farms, I'm talking about
When you say massive, what do you mean?
like
Paint us-
10,000 acres.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like massive. I have my cousin, he lives in Namibia. He moved from South Africa to he had a huge farm in South Africa, sold it, moved to Namibia. Then he bought like this game lodge where, I mean, you want to go hunt, you want to shoot, whatever. I mean, you name it, it's there.
Where's
You know,
Namibia?
So if you have South Africa in the very bottom here, Namibia is just to the west of it.
Okay.
It used to be, but when I was a kid, I was actually born in Namibia, but back then it was called Southwest Africa. It was a part of South Africa.
What were they growing on these farms?
So not so much growing.
Raising.
He does produce vegetables because he has a vegetable market also, and but they have
Like big game hunting type stuff?
Big game hunting, a lot of oryx, or in Afrikaans it's called gemsbok. You gotta get that out there. Yeah, get that phlegm going.
Flimsborg?
Every animal you see at the wild safari here in America, they just jack from there and put them on there.
Pretty much, yeah. And so they do a lot of that, and so I think that's where it stemmed from. You know, just growing up with either a cousin or an uncle or somebody who has a farm, and then when my parents moved here, you know, I was like, all right, we're doing this. You know, when we move to Florida, we're gonna buy some land. You know, and the goal was, I was like, man, if I can just have 10 acres, just 10 acres, it's so huge. You know, if you compare it to your backyard, right? It's like it's huge. And then so we were in the process of, so we moved from North Carolina, came down to Florida, and we lived in this 3,000 square foot. We thought it was a mansion, you know, I mean, it was brand new, and we were like, wow, this is so cool. And I was like, I don't like a HOA. I don't like people telling me.
I can't believe you guys even entered that.
Oh man, we were there for like 9 months. And,
See,
dude, I had.
So you bought the
we
house
had-
and you bounced?
So we bought the house before we even left North Carolina, because the military order thing was kind of weird. Like I finished everything I had to do, and then you couldn't move until they cut you orders and say, now you can go. And then when they cut you orders, it's like, you got to go. So we had to buy a house before receiving the orders, and we were like, so we bought the house unseen, right? I had a buddy down here. I was like, hey, FaceTime me, walk through, and they were still building the house. You know, they were so I was like, and he lived in the neighborhood, and he was like, yeah, man, it's awesome. So I was like, okay, cool. I think we can send it. And
At the time, how many kids did you have?
3.
3.
3. And you were stationed in North Carolina in the Navy?
Yes. No, in the Army.
And so you were Navy first.
Navy, then Army.
So you moved to the States after Africa. Where'd you go?
Man, many places: North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, California, Texas, Arkansas, North Carolina.
When did you join the Navy and all of that?
2011.
Okay. And you were stationed?
San Diego.
Okay. And then did y'all meet in San Diego, or where'd you go? She's got a whole story on that one.
I mean, it's
a unique
kind of
story.
crazy. He was stationed in Coronado at the time, right?
Yep.
So he was stationed there. I was living in Texas I had moved back in with my parents. I was in college, and we just so happened to be in Pensacola for the weekend. And he also just so happened to be in Mississippi, Gulfport, and came to Pensacola on the same weekend.
And you met there
Yeah.
in Pensacola?
Yeah, so I was
Neighborhood market, Walmart.
yeah, in a Walmart. Yeah,
You saw her and were like, "You're mine."
No, so this
Or
is
is it
what's
the other
funny.
way around?
So this is what's funny. So I was in Gulfport. We were finishing up some training and stuff I had to do before heading back to San Diego, and me and a couple of my buddies were like, "Hey, it's our last weekend. We're either going to go to New Orleans or Pensacola," and we decided last minute, okay, we'll go to Pensacola. So we hopped in my Camaro, because I was so cool.
Navy car.
You have to. Like if you're in the military, you have to have a Camaro or a Corvette or something you can't afford, right?
Yes.
And it's actually funny because back then I had a black Camaro, a black Land Rover, and this like cool bike, right? So when she met, she was like, "You're really in the military?" Like she was like, she thought I was like some drug dealer pimp something,
really doing here?
And
Couldn't pronounce his name.
couldn't pronounce my name. I had
You're
this weird
African-American.
story, So anyway, so we decided, okay, we're gonna go to Pensacola. So hop in the car, no clue where I'm going. I'm just
So you drove from San Diego to Pensacola?
No, from Gulfport, Mississippi.
He was doing training.
Yeah,
in
I was
Mississippi.
so it's still like a 2.5 hour drive. So we got there, and me and my buddies were like, we got to find a hotel, and everybody's like, I gotta pee, and I was like, okay, there's a Walmart. Turn into a Walmart. Everybody do their
Illegal
thing.
turn.
Yeah, illegal. Which I now, after the fact, I was like, oh, that was like a one way kind of thing, and I just kind of turned it. Yeah, I mean, it was late at night. Didn't know.
Things you'll do for love.
Yeah, right. So.
Oh, no.
So I walk around the Walmart, start getting some stuff, and I was like,
Ice cream.
well, actually, that was one of the things. But at the moment, I was like, I need some hair gel. I was like out of hair gel, and so I go down this aisle, and it's
Super sticky glue.
I actually found this thing, and I never found it. I haven't found it for like years, but it was this powder thing, that it's like this anti-gravity dust or something crazy that they came out with, and there's this little thing, and I was fascinated, right? I was standing there, and I was like shaking it, and I was like, oh, so cool. And I probably looked so crazy, right? Like
She's like, oh, special needs child.
yeah, let me help this guy. He needs some help. And so she actually walked past. She walked past the aisle, and allegedly she saw me, and she was like, and that's probably what she thought. She was like, this dude needs some help. Felt sorry for me, and then she ended up walking down the aisle, and I found the hair gel or whatever I needed, but she was carrying her little sister, who was a 2-year-old, but I didn't know. I thought it was her child, but I was still going to say like, hey, how you doing? Kind of trying to be cool. And so I walked past her, right? I could be her daddy, And, so I walked past her, and I was like, hey, how you doing? And she completely ignored me. And I'm like,
Didn't
all
hear
right,
him.
yeah. And I was just like, okay.
Still holding on to that lie.
Struck out, yeah, right? And I was like, got struck out. So I was like, okay, I'll just go find my idiot buddies and see if we can head out. And then as I walked away from her, she was smart. She is smart. But, back then it was a smart move. She was like, all right, sissy, let's go, or something like that. And I was like,
Oh, yeah, because I knew what he was thinking.
Yeah, and I was like,
oh, no, this guy cannot think I have a kid.
I was like, hang on, that's a sister. Okay. Oh, actually,
We can work with that.
Well, the thing is, before that, right as I said hello and she ignored me, I walked, and then her brother came walking in, and I was like, oh, there's the dad, okay, completely. And
He's
then
like 4 years younger than me.
but I didn't know. So, but anyway, so that's kind of how that happened. And then, she was in Walmart doing her thing, and then we ended up. She stood in front of the wine section or whatever, and I was like, oh,
She's of age.
let me go. Yeah, let me go
But I
try.
wasn't.
She wasn't. Let me go try
19.
let me go try my moves. And I was like, hey, so.
Come here often.
I was like, hey, a good place to go party. Even I wasn't
You
partying.
asked me about food. You're
No,
like,
I asked you about a club or something to go. Yeah, because you said no, and that shot me down again. And I was like, okay, now what do I say?
Oh, okay,
and then
then
we
you asked
started,
about
and I was like, okay, what about food? And she was like, nope, not from here. And I was like, we got to talk about something because I don't even know what to say now, And then we kind of start chit chatting or whatever, and then
That's not accurate.
What's your story?
What's your
because
story?
the girl's story is always different.
different.
It is. And
Yeah.
that's okay. We just have different
I
perspectives.
don't remember the party thing at all because that would have thrown me off because I've never been a party person really. But,
Yeah.
I asked you that, and you said no. And that's what threw me off because I was like, okay, she doesn't want to talk to me.
I remember
What's
you
your story?
saying? Is there anything to do?
Yeah, maybe so.
I don't think you said party.
Anything to
I
do
really
around
don't.
here?
I've got this ingrained in my memory.
Anything to do besides Walmart?
Right? No, but I remember you asking me about food, and I said yes, I do know because we had vacation there for years, so I wasn't like unfamiliar with the area. So that's what started the conversation.
How do you get your number? How did it get to that point?
We actually we talked for a
We
while.
talked for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, 'cause there's
my
like-
parents came and found me. They made their way to me in the store, and they're like, "What is she
Do you need
doing?
saving?"
Who is this?" But yeah, we talked a lot about art because at the time I was doing a lot of commissioned artwork, and I was showing him my paintings on my phone that I was working on because his mom and his sister are both artists. So that was a connection point. And yeah, we just started talking about everything.
Yeah, and then at the end of it, when I realized when her, family was like, "Hey, we gotta go," I was like, "Hey, I tell you what, you take my number because I'm not going to ask for yours because you're probably not going to give it to me, right? So you take my number and then call me or whatever." And so she took my number. Oh, and she typed it in wrong too. Luckily, I saw that because she typed like the last digit wrong, and I was like, no, that's a 1. And she was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, maybe she did that on purpose, right? Like wrong number kind of thing."
Nope.
But then she fixed it, and then she was like, "Okay, I'll call it." And I was like, "Oh, my phone's in the car and it's dead." And she was like, "Yeah."
So now you both think that you're playing each other.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay. And then we just met up the next day on the beach, and
He tried to meet me the same day.
Ooh,
Really?
thirsty.
You tried to you wanted to get together that same night, but I knew there's no way my parents were going to let that happen.
Yeah.
I was 19, but
Still living at home.
What
Their
do you
house.
plan
their
on
rules.
getting a farm and having kids with this guy or something?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And so check this out. How crazy is this? So that Walmart we met at, we now live about 40 minutes from that Walmart.
Get out. So is
that
your
wild?
anniversry?
you
Do
guys
y'all
gone
go to
back there?
Walmart, on
we
the
party
dates?
in Walmart. Yeah,
Yeah.
we rent out the whole Walmart.
You go like role play and she goes in the wine aisle and you
Oh
walk
my
down.
gosh.
You're like, hey,
maybe we
you know
should.
of any good places to
It's our
party around here?
10-year anniversary this year.
Right?
So
Yeah.
You could maybe call Walmart. I bet they'd do something special
Yeah.
for you.
Anybody who walks in to buy stuff is part of the party, right?
Yeah. Welcome.
Hey.
throw poppers up.
Okay, so you met at Walmart. You went back to Texas. You went back to San Diego. Stayed in touch, I'm assuming.
yeah, he already invited me to come visit him in
Yeah.
California, which I had never even been there before and had always wanted to go. So it was like an automatic yes. So
And San Diego and Coronado are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh,
Such
yeah.
beautiful.
Yes,
place.
I mean
He took me
we communicated
all
back
over
and
the
forth
whole area.
for a few weeks, and then she came out to visit, went back home. I went, to Texas to visit, and kind of like
take me
did
back
that
with him.
back and forth, yeah. And then and I was like, well, let's just move forward. I mean, it's kind of funny when we literally that day we met on the beach, because her whole family was there. We're like, what are we gonna do? Everybody's on the beach, and we're like, let's just go walk and talk. But you kind of lose track of time and distance sometimes when you walk on the beach in Pensacola. And we walked like, I don't know, 2 miles or something, and all of a sudden she's like, and every now and then we dip in the water and keep walking and talking, and all of a sudden she's like, we probably have to head back, because she had no phone like on her. And so we get back, and I can tell her stepdad is this big dude from Arkansas, few words, but everything shows in his face, right? And I was like, oh, this dude's pissed.
And he was.
Yeah. And I was like, and I mean, he was red, but not just from the sun. I mean, he was cooking. And I was like,
Stories just running through it. Where is she? Is she dead? Who
so
is
we
this
get
guy?
back, and they have this little villa, like literally like, walking like 50 yards, 50 feet, from the beach. And she was like, oh, you should come in for, some water and stuff. And I was like, I don't think I should. She's like, no, come on. And her mom's like, come on in. And
You're like,
I was
I don't think you
I was
understand.
I was like, this dude's going to kill me. I was like, I can see it. I've seen this story, this movie. And she was like, no, come on in. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be rude. So I'm walking, walking with them. And we get to they had this little 2-story deal where you go, in the garage and then go through the garage and then through a door to get to the other side. And then you go up the stairs. And so we go in the garage in the first, little door, and it's dark in there. And somebody opens the other side, and everybody's like, like filing through. And her stepdad, Darren, he holds the door open. And I'm like, okay, I'll be the last guy. And I'm like, hey, go on ahead. and he shuts the door and it's just me and him inside. And I'm like, oh, it's about to happen. You know, it's
What
like,
are your intentions?
I don't know what's gonna, you know. No, he freaking grabbed me and he pinned me up against the wall. And he was just like, you ever take my daughter? And I was like, yes, sir, I got it. You know, sorry, you know, I'll leave.
He really pinned you?
Yeah, he grabbed me. I've told you this. He did. He grabbed me, you know, and pinned me in the, yeah.
Had
And
a pistol right in his ribs.
yeah, like, dude, it was kind of funny and unique. So I was like, okay,
Nice
you know.
to meet you, sir.
So I'm like, yeah. And so we go upstairs
And unique.
and I'm just like, what
You
is
and the
going
stepdad
on
go
here?
upstairs?
Yeah, so he follows me upstairs, you know, huffing and puffing, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So I get upstairs, and she's like, oh, hey, want some water? And I was like, I gotta go. I gotta leave.
You
You
like
know?
pretend like
Yeah.
it's not happening
And
right now.
I wanted to leave with him. Like we had made a plan to
Right,
go
to like
eat somewhere.
get dinner or something.
Did you hear all this happening?
No, I had no clue
No,
that
because he shut the door. It's just me and him in the garage, and they headed upstairs, you know. And so that's kind of funny. And then so he
I
sat
ended up getting to leave with him though anyway.
right. But what was funny?
Is it your mom?
Yeah.
Like, oh, stop. It's always the women.
Yep.
But what's funny too, you know, so they already had their little dinner ready. So she went to go change or whatever. So I'm sitting there all awkward in this little living room, and her stepdad's sitting there eating his little thing. And you know, he's from Arkansas, so he talks a little different. And he sits there and he goes, he does not say like if he speaks. I mean, now he talks a little more, but back then, if he spoke 10 words a day, that's a lot, right? So he sits there, you know, I just see side profile. He's not even making eye contact. He's just like cutting into his meat and he's eating and he's like, "Jeet yet?" And I'm like,
He's talking to me.
I'm like, "Excuse me?" You know, I'm like, what's he saying? He's like, "Jeet yet?" And I was like, no, what do you say? I'm like, say again. And the third time he puts his stuff down and he makes eye contact and he's like, "Did you eat yet?" Jeet yet? I was like, oh, jeet. Like the past tense of eat. Like jeet, did you eat? I was like, no, I didn't jeet, or I jeeted. Yeah, sure, I jeeted. You know? And then he was just like, oh, what an idiot. You know, and he keeps eating. And then, but then since then, even now, 10 years later, I'll mess with. I'm like, hey, what are we jeeting today? You want to jeet yet? You know?
Yeah.
And so, but there's a lot of things he said. People from Arkansas say that I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
What is that word? Why are you changing
Merging
it?
words together.
Yeah.
All right. So you met the family off the bat, which was great. And then you go out. When do you guys decide to not be long distance? And you're in the Navy. I need to know what you did in the Navy and what made you transition into the Army.
So that was when so in the Navy, I had a unique job where I was a mammal handler, and the Navy back then had a program where they used animals, not dogs, but they used dolphins and little seal pups to conduct missions.
Okay. Tiptoeing around this.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can Google it and you'll find some information, but it was pretty unique. So
They go out and do things that humans can't do as
Like
efficient.
detect mines or bombs.
That's exactly what we did. So I was in a dive team where we would go out, and pretty much how the dolphins were used back then is to, in a way, if there's like a D-Day invasion kind of thing and you had to send small boats in, but there's debris and mines and stuff like that, we would go in first to clear a path. So we would send a dolphin. The dolphin would go ahead, go do some searching for either, debris or bombs or whatever. Dolphin would come back. He would communicate in a certain way that we know what was going on. We would then dive in the water and then go, nope, that's a shopping cart. Or, yeah, that's a bomb. Or, what bomb is it? And what should we do? How do we handle it? So it was a really unique job. And the dolphins had a few other functions too that I don't know if I can talk about yet, as well as the other animals. And so that was cool. It was a cool job. It was a unique. Yeah, I mean,
So they would have
back
a
then-
language you guys spoke. They would have a certain tone, or I don't know how you would.
Can you say
Sign
bomb and
language.
dolphin for me real quick?
It was sign. It was.
oh, through sign language?
Yeah, sign
and they would
language.
use like a flipper or something to communicate
They
bomb.
would.
or-
They
You
would.
can't give it away. It's like
Yeah.
wind talker
yeah,
stuff.
I
right
understand. I
Yeah,
understand.
they would just. There were certain things that they would do for us to go, oh, you found something, or oh, you didn't find
here.
anything.
Start spinning around.
And
And
then-
then crazy.
Yeah, and then sometimes if they said, if they would come back, they would report that they would find something. We would dive in the water. Right? We would dive in the water and we would go search for this thing, because we would.
Would they go with you? Would they lead you to it?
No.
Okay.
There's a way that they would mark what they found, and we would then go after the mark that they left, and then
That's our mammal.
he's like, "You're talking about my people."
So I do. Okay. I'm one of these people. I'm not judging at all, but I have a very sensitivity to animals in captivity. So I'd
Yeah.
be curious what happens to the animals after, or were they well taken care
Oh.
of? Where are they stored?
They were not called dolphins, or they were not referred to as dolphins or animals. They were referred to as systems, and just because of what the military used them for. But the care they received was phenomenal.
Top notch.
Phenomenal. The Navy spent on average $6 million per animal to get them to the stage where they were trained for us to help, for them to help us in our mission. But every day they would get vet checks. They had marine biologists that worked there that
Let
would.
him in. Sorry, we just have to let him in. He's
Yeah.
gonna cry the whole time.
Hey, buddy.
Just, I would almost say don't even acknowledge. Just let him.
don't acknowledge
Just
him.
ignore
Yeah.
him because he's gonna talk back for about 5 minutes.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
But so they were marine biologists and vets and everything. They would check in on the systems, on the dolphins every day. We would do all sorts of stuff, like, I don't know if you ever heard of the term dolphin waxing. Have you heard of this? Okay.
Heard turtle wax, but no
Is it
dolphin.
kind of a similar
So
bath?
pretty much, yeah. So what's funny? So they were kept in these pods in these areas where it's easier to separate them, and each individual animal system would have its own space. So what would happen is they wouldn't swim, right? Because there's only so much space. I mean, it's a decent amount of space, but for a dolphin, it's only so much space. So they would log, right? So kind of like a floating log. They would kind of just hang out and whatever. And so they would get sunburned because that's not what they do in the wild. They don't just hang out,
Sit there.
right? They would swim and they would move and they'd be underwater. So until we would take them out for the day, and we would take them out for hours, right?
In the wild, like they'd be out in the ocean,
in the
and they would
ocean.
come back.
Well, we
Wow.
transported them on boats.
Okay.
So we so long story short, they would log, so we would have to put sunscreen on them, wax the dolphins, but they got phenomenal care. Like the food, they received restaurant quality fish every day.
Sushi grade.
Oh yeah, I mean mackerel. Like we would open the boxes and we're like, this is the stuff that goes to the restaurant that we eat
Yeah.
at. This is the same mackerel that we eat. So so that was cool. That was unique, very
When they
unique.
retire, how do you retire? Because they are probably super. I mean, they're super intelligent anyway, but
Yeah.
now they have this knowledge.
Right. So I wasn't part of that, but what happened, the Navy actually got rid of the program. As far as I know, they sold it off to a private company, and I'm not sure what they do with them now. I've heard that they still train them and exercise them, and but I'm not sure what they do with it. I don't know
Fair
if they use them for SeaWorld.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
They left him in Afghanistan on the pullout.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's Osama bin Dolphins everywhere.
He can't be trusted. That's cool. I didn't know that was a thing. You
Yeah.
know, you only hear that they capture these dolphins for our enjoyment and pleasure, but it's interesting that the military uses them as well because they're super intelligent.
Yeah.
In fact, they could have different dialects from like different continents in the world.
Oh, for sure.
It's insane.
They're
Yeah.
It's like they're
fascinating
different
creatures.
species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were in the Navy doing this. You guys decided to seal the deal. No, not do long distance anymore. When did you get out of the Navy and get into the
Maybe
Army?
seal the deal.
So
told you.
25th. So my contract was about to be up in the end of 2015, and we also were expecting our first child, Levi, and we were kind of at the point where it's like, do I stay in? Do we get out? The military at the time was kind of downsizing anyway. So we're like, there's nothing really going on. So maybe the best gig would be to get out and be normal, you know. And her family was still in Texas, and we're like, well, let's move to Texas. And so got out in 2015, and pretty much as soon as I got out, I was like, kind of miss this, you know. Kind of miss doing silly things and, you know, things that you see in movies, and you're like, that's cool, I want to do that. And so either way, we moved to Texas, and I pretty much almost immediately started the process to get back into the service, and I looked into the Army to go fly helicopters because you know, I mean, who doesn't want to fly something, you know, use a big old piece of machinery and make it do what you want to do. I mean,
Sounds like a boy thing.
Yeah, you know, I mean, how many dudes do you know, even as a grown man, when you hear a helicopter doesn't stop what he's doing and he goes,
Yeah, you hear.
yeah, and you're like, I gotta stop mowing. I gotta do whatever. I don't care. Where is it? There it is. You know. Whoa! You know, you get your phone out.
We're
Like
literally every day. We're right by Eglin.
Dude,
so
I was
bombs and jets, and every day I'm like pulling out.
I was running today, you know, and I heard. I was like, oh, get my phone while I'm running, you know, and so that was the goal. That didn't work out due to recruitment politics, I would say. Ignorance from people who
They
I
just
guess
weren't used to that specific.
So the recruiting game works. It's a numbers game. If they can get somebody in and just infantry, like there's thousands of people needed in this job, it's easier for them to just stack numbers in there. But when you have a very specialized job that you want to get into, that's a lot of work on their side. They're like, yeah, I'll help you when I feel like it. I'll help, you know. So that wasted a lot of my time and ended up not doing that. And then I looked into potentially going Air Force. Kind of similar thing happened. Air Force doesn't have many jobs available, or they didn't at the time. And then one day I and then this kind of thing happened where I bumped into 3 separate occasions. I bumped into you know, a Green Beret, like 3 different Green Berets. And I was like, that's kind of funny. One day we were looking at a property, a 10-acre property that was close to her parents. They owned some land at the time. And we went to this property and I was like, oh, it's a cool little farm. And I was like, where's the husband? And she was like, oh, he's on his way. And on the wall was all these like special forces stuff. And I was like, And then when he came in, I was like, hey, what did you do? And he was like, oh, I was a Green Beret. And I was like, oh, cool, let's talk. And we just hit it off. And the dude was like, dude, go sign up. You're going to love it, you know?
What is a Green Beret for people who don't know?
So it's a special forces soldier in the Army.
It's like the badass division of Army guys, right?
It's like the Navy SEAL of the Navy, essentially.
Pretty much. Okay. So same thing. And there's a song from back in the day, the Ballad of the Green Berets.
We want you to sing it.
Go ahead.
Let's go.
Some drums.
We're listening.
Get the drums going. So, and then a couple weeks later, I bumped into another one randomly, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of funny." And then a couple weeks later, bumped into another one, and same kind of thing. We kind of like shared stories, and we just like hit it off. And every time these dudes were like, "Dude, just go back, just sign up, you'll love it." So I did, you know, and then that was that. Did that. That's what took us to North Carolina, and we're in North Carolina for a while. The training takes forever, like years.
To become a Green Beret. How many years are we talking?
That's where my buddy Nick did it.
3.5.
3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Was it like the SEAL training similar, or is it more intense? You know, because how long is
it's same but different. So it's in the initial phases, it's like if you go through selection, right? They're not going to spend a lot of money on you if they don't know, can you physically hack it? Can you mentally make it, right? So they put you through a lot of stress, a lot of physical, like for example, selection is 3 weeks long and it's just daily, you know, it's a daily grind. You know, they see how long are you going to last? How many, you know,
sorry guys.
No, you're good.
I don't know what.
He walked right over to the plant and took one of those little ball things out and he's chewing on them.
Pebble.
We have a toddler. He's in the toddler
I
phase.
put him outside, but she's like, I want him to be a part of everything. I'm like, he's going to do this though.
Well, he's in the toddler phase. we don't know what's happening, but go ahead.
Everyone's wondering we're talking about the dogs in here. Blue is in here with us.
So you went through a bud. So they put you through all this psychological
training.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And then
for 3.5 years.
You progress through different phases and different things that you got to do and learn. And, then you later learn your job, like specific, like in a special forces team, there's 12 guys and the movie 12 Strong, because there's 12 dudes in a team. And so each guy has a job, and there's normally 2 guys, like 2 weapon specialists, 2 demolition experts or specialists, and 2 communications guys. And so that's part of it. You learn your job. And I was a demo guy. And then
just blow shit up.
Yeah, blow stuff up. I was like, sign me up for that, man. Like I can
do what?
Let's sling a hammer and I can cut doors down and blow it up and blow stuff. Yeah, that was cool. Who doesn't want to do that? And then you learn a different language. So depending on your region where you're going to be working in, mostly you learn that language.
So what language did you learn?
Espanol.
Oh, okay.
So
how many people start out in the Green Beret program versus how many people actually make it? Is it in numbers?
It's a lot. I don't know. I didn't focus on that because I wasn't going to be a statistic. I was just going to make it.
And while he's going through this training, you have a newborn baby.
Oh no, I had 2
babies.
What is that like for you as a military spouse while he's going through this intense training and coming home? And
I don't know. It just kind of, it's just how it was.
Is it normal to you at that point?
Yeah. I mean, for the first couple of months, I was with my parents, and then I don't know. I was just excited to be together again. So that we got a camper and just moved out. We just moved out to be with him as soon as we could, and it wasn't bad. It really wasn't. And I made friends quickly.
Yeah.
And grew a support system really quickly out there. I have to say, like in North Carolina where we were, I quickly developed like so many friends that felt like family that were also military wives, and a lot of them were older than me, but they just kind of took me in, and anytime he was gone, I always had people to support me.
But they were all also in the special forces realm, so it was easier. They could kind of like coach. Like, hey, this is what you can expect. This is how it's going to be. So
our first 2 boys were really easy too.
Right.
The first 2.
Yeah, lucky.
There's a story there.
The first 2 were like, oh, this is so easy. Like they just were.
Let's have more. And they're like, no, what have we done?
Well, yeah. Our third boy just has a totally different personality. He's just kind of like Wreck-It Ralph, kind of.
Yeah.
And he's big and just strong and just.
You love him.
Frank the Tank. You're literally the tank. Oh, he's my little
sweet
shadow.
Too.
He's so sweet, but he's a wild man.
Different.
He's just he doesn't like if the other brothers get on his nerves, or if he's like, if they mess with him, and he'll tell him to stop once, and it's followed by a fist or 2. He's just
That's
just
the
like,
warning shot.
this is how we roll.
Yeah.
Just
I will
don't
hurt you.
Yeah. Oh, and he does, and he
makes the 5-year-olds cry.
Seriously.
He's 4, but he wears the 8-year-olds stuff.
Yeah.
And he's just a big dude. He's always been. When he was born, he was like in the 98th percentile. And, things change, after like a year or so or 2 years, like it phases down. And, over the years, people are like, oh, it's going to change. It'll slow down. It's like, no, it's been speeding up, man. It's,
Seriously.
So I'm like, I hope we're going to have a gentle giant, what's funny is he loves cooking. He loves cooking.
Oh my
when
God,
she makes food,
loves
he will go
cooking.
pull a chair up and put it
Every
right there.
time.
And I mean, if I'm on my phone, let's say if he sits with me like late at night and I'm scrolling through, like random videos like we do to numb our brain, I guess,
Exactly.
if there's a cooking video, I'm like, Dad, go back. I want to watch that. I want to see how they make that donut, or I want to see how they make that steak, and he'll watch it, be like, let's watch it again.
He loves to eat.
Yeah, he loves to
love eat. He does.
He likes to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah, for real.
Right.
Does he help you guys? Do you butcher your own animals?
Chickens.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, chickens. But for the pork, it's a lot of work. It's you to be, again, legal, to be able to sell it legally. You have to go through USDA inspected butcher, so, and then everything gets labeled USDA inspected. So everything's good, legal. Plus normally when we do it, we send 2 or 3 hogs at a time. So it's, you know, it's just
It's a lot
easier
of work.
To
It's a
have
lot
a
of work.
butcher shop, just do it.
Yeah, it's you know, because not just is it the work. I mean, when I was a kid back home, we would go hunt, you know, big kudu and stuff like that, and then we would do everything ourselves, butcher everything. I mean, I'd stand there. My dad would teach me how to cut certain steaks and do certain things, and you know, cut the skin off and all that, right? But now to do it takes a lot of time, and then you have to be able to get rid of the skin, the hide, the stuff that you don't use, the blood.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
Get
we're
it
not,
all packed
We're
up
not packed
quick
up,
enough.
vacuum seal. Yeah, there's a time to do it. We're just not set up for that.
Yeah, you go to a butcher shop, like a big operating one, you see them dump into the back of those like garbage trucks, and all those leftover piece of a cow falls in.
Enjoy your hot
What are
dogs.
you gonna do with
Yeah,
all that?
no.
Hamburgers. So you were Green Beret, and then how did you guys get into the farming? Is there a
Yeah,
story
where did that launch?
between that, or is there something in between?
A little bit. So when I was about to be done with all my stuff I had to do in North Carolina, so we made our own beef jerky, you know, like even in the house, you know, always loved to do our own little thing. We'd always have
You
our
guys
little,
Had a little
You did
garden.
we'd always have like a little garden and do our own little thing
Flowers
and
and-
flowers and little microgreens and, you know, make our own beef jerky. And
Did you have your trailer on some property? Is that kind of
so
Not at that point.
we bought a house in North Carolina. After a while, we found the church we were going to at the time, where a lot of these military wives were, the pastor inherited a house, and the house was sitting vacant. And I didn't know this, but I talked to him one day and it's like, hey, we're living in the camper, but we're looking at a house. Let us know. I know you're well connected. We're looking at buying a house. And he was like, oh, I have one. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? He was like, yeah, I have one. Here's the address. Go check it out. It's literally behind my house. And I was like, oh, he was like, yeah, it's open. Go check it out. Let me know what you think. So we drive there after church, and I walked in, and she was sitting in the car with the kids, you know, because you never know what you're going to walk into. And I walked in and I walked in and I was like, this place is awesome, you know, for what we needed at the time, you know. Really, it was a unique, it was a
really
custom built home,
Well taken
super
care
unique,
of.
very, very cool. And I got back to the car and I was like, this is it. Come check it out. And so the pastor was a super cool guy. He was just like, he was like, hey, just how about you rent it for a couple months and then we'll talk about the mortgage in a couple months, you know, figure it out, decide if you want to buy it. I'm talking, the rent was like nothing. I mean, we paid less for the house than we paid for the little rental spot at the RV park. And I was just like, wow. Yeah, it was just kind of like meant to be. So it was a bit of a project. There's a lot of stuff that I had to change and fix and do, you know, but it was the bone, you know, had good bones. And so we bought that, and that's where we were and that's where we
had the
did
camper on that property.
and we had the camper on there
and
too.
did beef
But then his
jerky and
parents
gardening?
moved.
Yeah.
Oh,
His parents
They moved from
South
overseas. They immigrated, and then they lived in the camper. And so coming back to the thing that happened, so one night, I was doing a lot of woodworking out of CNC machines, always doing something on the side, right? Like little plaques and things, and I'd sell it to people. And one night I was eating my beef jerky, heading to the garage to check on the CNC that was making something for somebody, and I went to swallow the bite, and I was like, ooh, I was like, man, that kind of felt kind of like it stuck. You know, sometimes
What were you eating?
beef jerky.
Beef jerky?
Yeah. But you know, like sometimes you eat and you swallow something and you're like, it feels like it's stuck. But it's not. It just feels like it, right? It's that sensation. And but I was like, man, this thing really feels like it's stuck in here. And it was late at night. Project was done, switched it off, and I was like, oh, I'll just go to bed. And that whole night I couldn't really sleep. And I, like, as you're laying there, this thing was actually stuck in my esophagus. And as I would swallow my spit, my esophagus would fill up with spit, and then it would just come out. Not like I'm throwing up. It would just, I'm like, what is going on? So
Blockage of some sort.
yeah, it was completely blocked. So then the next morning I get up and I'm like, hey, I think I got to go to the hospital, like on base, because I think this thing's stuck in here. So,
How's that doctor's appointment? I think I have beef jerky.
well,
stuck
here's
in
the
my
thing.
gut.
This
What do you
is
say?
this
What?
is right. This is right when COVID was starting to poke its head out, and people were kind of acting a little weird and kind of like, if this
Like
is
January,
not a
February of 2020.
yeah, it was March, beginning of March, and they were kind
March
of like.
6th was the day that they were like, it's touchdown, and we're officially
Yes.
thinking of blocking stuff.
And here's the thing. So on base, they were already kind of putting things in motion to where they're like, if it's not an emergency, if it's not life threatening, whatever, we don't kind of want to see you. And
You're like,
if
I
it's
have
not
COVID in my throat. Will you please get it out?
But here's the thing. So luckily,
Chunk of COVID.
Every symptom was COVID, so
pretty much, I mean, right? And so I show up and I'm like, hey, I think I have something stuck in my throat. I
a
can't
bat wing.
swallow, right? And so I go in, but because everybody is so weird, I sit in this little waiting room and I explain everything to the nurse, right? And I'm sitting here with a little cup, spitting my spit into the cup because I can't swallow it.
you got
It's
two
pointless.
tobacco.
That's the thing. That's what they thought because I'm on a military base and everybody has dip in their mouth and they're spitting their tobacco spit, right? So they're probably thinking he's just spitting his tobacco
Look
spit.
at this
But I'm
piece of
actually, yeah, right. So the doctor comes in and is like, oh, so you got some beef jerky stuck in your throat, huh? You can't swallow, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I can't swallow my own spit. And he's like, all right, what are we gonna do? We're gonna give you some Prilosec and you're gonna take that and you're gonna be good. And I'm like, okay. I'm like,
A tablet.
Can't you
yeah.
look?
I'm like,
heartburn.
yes.
Prilosec.
And I'm like,
But it's a tablet.
It's a tablet.
That he
And I'm
needs
like,
to swallow.
so I'm like, how am I taking this? He's like, oh, you
Through
just-
the butt.
He's like, you just drink it. And I'm like,
Suppository.
I can't swallow my own spit. I was like, how am I drinking it? He's like, yeah, just do it with water. And I'm like, okay, man, maybe I'm retarded here. Maybe I'm missing.
You're like, good thing I speak Spanish. Let me try this.
Yeah, let's translate
Hola,
this,
¿por
right?
qué you're idiots.
So I go to the truck and I'm like, I gotta try something because I'm about to go back to the language lab. I'm supposed to take this test today, and I'm freaking out here.
Did you try force barfing at all at any point to see if it would help?
Not at that point, but I took the Prilosec, slammed it with water, thinking I can just force this in there, and then my esophagus went into a spasm. I don't know if you've
Probably
ever
started coming apart in your throat.
dude. I don't know if you've ever had a spasm, but the only thing I thought of in that moment, I was sitting in my truck in the parking lot. I thought I was having a heart attack. I didn't know what was like, dude. I was like,
Yeah, because it runs down.
yep, all the way. It shoots down here, and I was sweating, and I was like, this is how they're gonna find me in the truck. Just
With your
done.
Prilosec?
With my Prilosec, yeah,
Unused
overdosed on
Prilosec.
And beef jerky.
Foam mouth.
he overdosed on beef jerky. So then I'm just like, oh, this is dumb. So I go back to base, do my language lab thing, and in the language lab, they're so anal. You can't bring anything in, not water, not anything, and you have to take this 3-hour test. And
You're just drooling.
yeah, and I'm like, I have to spit because I cannot swallow. So I snuck in this little cup, and I found a spot, luckily in a corner on this like computer thing, and everything's kind of like blocked off. And I look around, and be like, okay, spit in the little cup. And it was just, it got to the point where I was like, I'm so miserable. I'm just gonna click whatever you like, see, all that, and got out of there. Luckily, I passed this thing, and I went home. And then that evening, she was like, no, you need to go back. And I'm like, what am I gonna go back for? These people are idiots. Well, I'm not going back there. And she's like, well, you got to do something. And at this point, it's been
I
like,
knew something is
it's
wrong
been
here.
almost 24 hours. So I'm starting to get dehydrated, because I can't swallow spit. Like I'm just feeling weird. I haven't had food. And so that evening, probably like 7 or 8, she's like, we're going back. So I go back to the ER. We're like, this is what's going on. And as soon as I got in there, luckily the doctor who was on
Morning.
the evening.
Meaning like the morning shift doctor was gone.
The new guy who came in, he was a GI doc. And as soon as he saw that, he was like, get that guy ER.
He was like, you have an
now.
impaction.
Yeah, he was like, you have an impaction. You go into the ER right now.
It's lodged inside.
Yep. And he was like, we got to take him to the ER now. This is like life threatening. And I'm like, oh,
You go, really?
Finally.
You go, you sure you don't want to just give me another Prilosec?
yeah, just give me
It's
another.
beef jerky that has marinade on it. That's like all the seasoning
Burning.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So then I go in and they put me under, had a unique, legitimate near-death experience. And I didn't know this at the time. I just thought it was because my dad passed away not too long, like a month before. And I just thought, hey, here's a perfect opportunity for my dad to show up. I mean, it was a very unique experience to where I knew this was not made up in my head. This was something that was very unique. But what ended up happening is I was literally on the brink of death because they ruptured the inside of my esophagus by forcing this thing. They either go in and pull it out or they push it through. And they're like, we're going to push this bad boy through.
50-50
And they,
shot.
right? Yeah, let's see what happens. And they actually perforated my
And you were
the
out.
inside of the lining. Yeah, I was gone. And so
What was the near-death experience?
They perforated it though when they went to push.
Yeah.
Well, when they perforate it, because that can kill you
yes.
so quickly.
Yeah, I would have. If it went like I'm
air
talking,
goes
if,
through?
If I went, if that little perforation went, man, I don't even know what the. It's so insanely small. I would have been done within minutes. Right.
Like no oxygen, right? You just would have been
Yeah, and
veggie.
there would have been blood. I would have been bleeding internally, and yeah, it would have just been a mess. But what's funny is I knew, I kind of had an idea that something kind of went sideways because the next morning, I had this high-ranking official dude wake me up like at 4:30 in the morning, 5 a.m. He was in his PT gear, dripping sweat. And he's like, hey, I'm Colonel so-and-so. And he was shaking my hand. He's like, I'm just checking on you. And I was like, this is odd. I was like,
And they recovered him in the ICU.
yeah. And I was like, this is weird. Why is this high ranking? Like, I'm not that special, right? I'm like, this is kind of weird. But then they didn't say anything. They didn't say what happened except for the nurse told her the next day.
Yeah, because I knew something was.
Yeah. They were like, this is
His surgery.
Something happened.
A 3-hour surgery ended up being a.
Well, it was longer, and then I was waiting in the waiting room, and then they brought me up to a totally different floor. So anyway, they didn't recover him in the place that the guy told me they were going to. They brought me up to ICU, and my mom was a nurse and RN for my whole life, so I knew like this is not normal that he's in ICU. And they were just like constantly checking on him, constantly checking his vitals, and endoscopy is like there's endoscopy centers where you can just go and it's like a same day you're out of the office.
oh, you're in and out.
But-
in
In and out.
30 minutes.
This wasn't like that. I could tell by the energy of all of it. It was very much more serious.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to talk about your near-death experience? I find them fascinating.
It is fascinating. I just don't know if I'm going to get emotional about it. Unless you want to say what happened. I mean,
My dad passed 2 years ago.
yeah.
It was
Right.
tragic and
Yeah.
traumatizing. So I get it.
Yeah.
If you get emotional, we don't have to put it in if you feel uncomfortable about it.
So it was,
he just had a visitation from his dad.
yeah. And it's unique because the experience I had was like, it's so hard to explain because it's so different than our reality. But I was in a place where there was nothingness, right? It was like you're in space, but there's no stars, there's no noise, there's no weight, there's like,
Consciousness.
yeah, it's just, I don't know how to explain it unless you've been there. You'd be like, yeah, I've been to that place. It's kind of cool because it's nothingness, because it's not like I went to heaven or whatever to where I experienced like, oh my gosh, look at all these colors and stuff. It was almost like I was given an opportunity. It's like, go in this waiting room real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, go hang out there real quick and, you know, get your little message or whatever. It's hard to explain, you know. It's
Is it
just,
like a nothingness, but everything? Like a totality of like an understanding without words, without
yeah,
feelings?
I knew where I was. It's almost like I knew, like, hey, you're in an area. Like I say, best thing I can say is like, you're in a waiting room. Like your reality is not physical, but you haven't gone to the pearly gates. You haven't done any of that, but you're in a different spot. And the feeling of it was just, there's no shock, no surprise, no like, oh my gosh, or like fire and brimstone or any craziness. It was just peace. Like I say, there was no weight, no gravity, no time, no feeling, no smell, no sense. It was just, and when I say complete, like black, like you're in space, but no, like you can imagine just everything's black. It's not like it's bad, right? But it was in a space where, yeah, it was just complete. It was like isolation, kind of like in a room. It's like, here, you're going to have this experience real quick, but you're not going to experience anything else, right? Like the person that needs to communicate with you. That's all you're going to see. That's all you're going to
meeting
experience.
space.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's like a little meeting room. It's like a little, and then that's it. And again, I don't know how long I don't even know how long I was under. For, maybe 30 minutes, 40
Hours.
It was closer to an hour and a half total.
See, and if I could put the
And that's definitely not
experience.
how long an endoscopy takes.
Oh no.
Because he's had to have more done.
Yeah, I've had multiple done. But if I could put that experience in a time frame, it would be like 5 to 15 seconds. But it obviously happened for way longer than,
Was your dad there as a presence, or was he
Yeah.
there in a physical? You could see him,
Yeah, I
or
knew it
could
was
you?
him.
You just his presence you knew, or was he there as something that you recognized
No,
visually?
it's visually. I knew it was him. I mean, it's so unique, I mean,
Trippy.
I've seen, some of these stories and stuff, and you're like, it sounds made up, but who knows? Because it's so hard to explain it. I mean, I've had, since he passed, so many things that if you were told, if I was told these experiences before I had those experiences, I'd be like, yeah, that's not true. You just made that up. That's completely BS. Until I had those experiences, and I was like, holy cow, this is like, some people don't believe in God or afterlife or whatever. It's like, you don't have to believe in this stuff. It's there. It's how it is. Like, you don't have to believe. I mean, a lot of people just flick on a light and there's light. They don't even know what electricity is or how it works. You can't hold electricity in your hand. You can't, but it's there. You can't really see it. If you look at the wires, you're not going to see, oh, there it goes, there it goes, there it goes. But it's there. It's happening. If you believe it or not, it's there. And yeah, these experiences are just, I've had multiple.
It was just undeniable.
That could be a podcast in itself.
I'd love to do that one.
The amount of things that I experienced since the day he passed for like a week. And then during the endoscopy that went sideways, because there was direct verbal communication about stuff that me and Brooke, literally, as I was in the waiting room, we were talking about stuff that he was communicating about. And then,
like answering a question
Yeah.
that we had asked.
yeah. And then he said stuff that I was supposed to tell my mom that I had no clue. And sorry, it's funny how you can deal with this stuff and a certain memory just, you're like, oh my gosh, here we go.
You're there again.
Or I can be fine. I can talk about my dad. I can talk about the process. I can talk about all this stuff like nothing. And then certain things just hit you where you're like, whoa, that, was deep. But but the thing that he said to my mom was just so unique because I had no idea. And then when I told her, she was just like, she opened up about all sorts of stuff. And I was like, well, that definitely didn't come from me. I didn't make this crap up.
Yeah.
That wasn't hiding in your subconscious.
No.
That is specific to them.
Clue about this
Wow.
thing in their relationship, So I'm like, if you want to say, oh, you just had some weird thing that happened, how the heck did I make that up? I had no clue. I could have made something else up. I could have said, hey, my dad said keep painting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like my 3-year-old can say that. You're a great message, Dad.
Yeah.
So very, very unique, very cool. It's just, it's unique. It's cool. There's nothing weird about it. There's definitely, the way I've experienced it is almost like when you leave this planet, this realm. My dad actually explained it in a way before he passed that there's different. And I don't want to go deep in this stuff.
do
Some
it.
people are gonna be like, "You guys are cuckoo," which is fine. I mean, we drink raw milk.
farmers.
Yeah.
That's milk.
It's the milk.
It's the milk. It's the milk. Drink it. It'll
bacteria
make you crazy.
eating your
It's
brain.
eating my brain. But so if you think about it, so there's different layers to like reality, right? Easy one is, let's say you guys and your dog, right? Your dog is a part of your life, right? He's here. He's doing stuff. You can see into his life and his reality, but he cannot see into yours. He has no clue where you're going when you go, I'm going to Walmart, see you, and you shut the door. He has no clue where you were at. There's nothing that makes him go, yep, they're going to Walmart. They're going to walk down aisle 15F and they're going to go get mason jars and they're going to get some 15F because that's where I buy mason jars.
You know us.
What aisle did you meet her on?
Man, it might be 15F, 9E. So, you know what I'm saying? So in the lower levels, like we can look into a tree's life, which is alive. But that tree is there for its purpose, but it cannot look into your life. It can't move with you, right? So there's the first, second, third dimension and higher dimensions. So after this, whatever dimension that is and however that works, how I've experienced it is almost like it's like they can still, and don't quote me, there's no biblical stuff about this. I don't really care. My biblical view or Christian view has changed since I've had these experiences that are unique and real to me. Anyway, it's almost like they're there and everywhere at the same time, but they're kind of like where they are. They're kind of looking at you through like a window, right? They can see everything you're doing, and every now and then when they want to be a part of you or communicate with you or help you realize something, they open the window and they come in and they make something happen to where you're like, oh, that's unique. How did the coffee maker just turn on? Like my dad always used to make coffee at 4:13 in the morning. That's kind of unique. You know what I'm saying?
Little reminders.
Yeah. And then they go back through the window and they close the window, but they're still
there.
And that's what's beautiful. You know, it's so cool. It's, you know, I still get emotional, and you know, for anybody who would watch this and have the mentality, real men don't cry, forget that bullshit. Freaking, you're a human being. If you were made to not cry, you would have no tear ducts and you would have no emotions. That is complete bullshit. I know some of the toughest human beings on this planet. I'm talking about physically, mentally, people who have done absolutely insane stuff that they will never be able to talk about in their lives, break down like little boys. And I'm like,
strong motherfucker right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but yeah, super good. This stuff is sorry for the words.
Yes. Promise me something. We're going to pick up and do a separate podcast on this because the heebie-jeebies are boiling over here, and I love this conversation.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
If you want to
It's
be
a big part of our life.
Yeah, it still is. If you if you want to be completely blown away by experiences that I cannot even make up how things have happened. I had one recently back in November when I went to Dallas, and it was just
unexplainable.
Yeah.
Do you experience these too, or do you get to witness them through him?
I have my own. I have a lot of my processes with all this started when I was actually quite a bit younger. So, yeah, there's a lot of stories with that.
Proves that it's not just this physical flesh that we live.
Yeah.
It's like that consciousness is still there in the window, like you said.
Somebody
100%.
opened the window and connected you to in the wine aisle at Walmart.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
I'm telling you. Oh, there's
For sure.
yeah.
And I got physical things that I was receiving from my loved one that I lost when I was 17. She showed me that she knew that we were together.
I can't wait to hear about this, you guys.
Yeah. That's wild.
Promise me we're going to have...
Bring boxes of tissues and whatnot, you know.
You
because
cry, I cry. That's how it works. You go, I go. You cry, I cry. So we'll just ball in here, but people need to hear it.
The thing is,
No, it's unique.
Because it's real. It's not made up. It's not, you know, it's not like who, you know.
Yeah.
But it's for
real.
everyone.
Yeah.
It really is.
Just whether you're open enough to like receive it or see it there.
Right.
Or not discredit it as, you know, whatever we label things as, however we divide our spirituality apart from this realm, that realm, that, you know, it's all the same.
Yeah,
And the
we're
time
one
thing
with
is
it.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, how that happens. Yeah, we're going to have to dive
There's
into
a lot more
for
to
sure.
go into this,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
But not to cut you off, because
No,
I
you're good.
definitely,
No, you're good.
definitely want to do it. If you guys are open to sharing more. And
Yeah, we can do it again and have a unique, mind-blowingly unique conversation.
Cool. Okay, but I want to pick up too from Army. You went
Yeah.
in, you had this thing, you had this regression, and then
So you lived.
So it ended in
I'm
a
sat here.
diagnosis.
Yeah.
a diagnosis. 'Cause
So, so before that happens, so I'll try and cut to the chase. She normally tells me when we go in public, don't talk to people because you're going to talk too much.
we love
don't
it.
be yourself. You're too
this
crazy.
is your space. Whatever. This is a podcast. You're allowed to
So,
talk about
Luckily,
anything.
we gave you a microphone today.
I do not say that, by the way.
She's just muting it on the other side. But no, so that happened. So it was a memorable experience for everybody involved, including the staff. So I go home and they're just like, all right, idiot, chew your food better. Don't just swallow your beef jerky like an animal.
Yeah, you got homework to do.
Go learn how to chew, or work or use it. And so I go home, everything's good. And then 6 weeks later, we sit at the dinner table. A table I built that table, and I'm sitting there and we're eating some chicken and stuff. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, hello, darkness, my old friend. I've felt you before. Piece of chicken stuck in my throat, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, okay, I've read online about doing different things, like you can chug soda and all the bubbles and things will just push it through. And I'm like, I'm chugging soda, and I'm like, nope, it's coming the other way. I'm like, oh gosh, here we go again.
Yeah, we were trying all the tricks.
So this
vacuum
time,
tube down there.
oh dude, well, you name it,
Yeah.
And so here we go. So I'm like, okay, I know what's happening. I'm not waiting 24 hours. Let's go back in there. It's just a little piece of chicken. It's softer this time. They can probably just pop it out and I can come back home.
You must have a tiny little esophagus.
Yeah, you do.
Little baby tube.
That's what happened. Little baby throat,
You
right?
you're not you're not the throat goat.
I'm not the throat goat. My Navy days did not pay off. You know what I'm saying?
Please tell us more. Please.
100 men go down, 50 couples come up, right?
So,
God.
I'll keep it PG. So so we go back in, and as soon as I got there, they're like, "Oh, you're the beef jerky guy." I'm like, "Oh, I've got a label. I'm the beef jerky guy. Hey,
I'm the chicken guy
I'm
now.
the chicken guy." And
Nugget.
so they immediately take me in. Same thing. Pop the bad boy out,
And
and
surgery, you had to go under
Same
again?
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, this
Were
time
you
I-
terrified at this point? Like, here we freaking go again?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nerve wracking for sure.
but this time I didn't die, obviously.
I didn't. Yeah,
And
didn't die the first time.
Yeah, I was saying. I mean, technically, we don't know.
I told you I'm not a mathematician, And so so I'm in recovery. And then when the one doctor came in, he was not impressed with my chewing skills at all. He was in the friggin' mood.
When he pulled the chicken out, was it just like a solid piece still? Like not chewed at all?
I think he pushed it through. I think they're like,
pushed
you
it
need
down.
the protein.
you got lucky.
Keep going, son.
Because if they pulled it out, they would have been like, you haven't chewed anything.
Yeah, look at this. Perfectly whole. It's like an uncooked
Whole
nugget.
thigh.
Yeah. And the bone is in there too.
Yeah, what are you doing?
And so this dude was like, all right, this is what happened. This is not just a chewing thing. This is, we're gonna,
They took biopsies.
yeah, they took biopsies of my
your
throat. 'cause they're-
esophagus?
Of my
Like there
esophagus.
was like a growth or anything in there?
Well, here, kinda. So they were like, "This is not normal." So we are labeling you with this thing called EOE, or eosinophilic
Eosinophilic
esophagitis. Try and say that fast 5 times. Eosinophilic esophagitis. Took me about 2 years to figure out how to say it. So EOE for short. And I was like, oh, I'm diagnosed with this thing. I'm like, okay, whatever. I kind of literally, my attitude was like, I don't care. I'm freaking
I'll
Green
push
Beret.
through it.
I got this. I'm going to go send it. And he's like, no, you don't get it. He was like, this issue, this illness literally just got listed on the military's, this thing is called a DOTI, this list of things that you cannot have and serve in the military. If you had this before you came in, you would have been disqualified. But now that you have it, we can work with you and try and fix it. But as far as they know, it's incurable. And I'm like,
Oh, geez.
fantastic. And they're like, yeah, so this is what we're going to do. You're going to get every so often, every month or 2 months, you're going to come in. We're going to dilate you because what happened with my esophagus, it pretty much turned into an hourglass, right? And what happens? So whatever happened, I don't know. Something happened. I ate something in the military, or most likely one of the 7,000 shots you get, to protect you against everything.
Here we go again with the conspiracy.
Conspiracy, because it couldn't
There's
be.
zero side effects. Okay?
Zero side effects.
At
Yeah.
any point when you're getting these shots in your mind, are you thinking, this can't be good? Or are you thinking
Oh,
it's
of
the
course.
military?
No.
At that point, are you
They-
just like, whatever you say?
I've talked to military guys who are like, it's just part of the job. It's
It is.
fine. It's all fine. They think it's fine.
That's
But
what
is
everybody
that
thinks.
fine?
No, I knew I was never cool with it because you go in and it's like every so often, or you go to a new base or whatever. And they're like, all right, you're up for the following list, and you just go in and you're just standing there. And it's like, you don't have a say. You cannot say, I don't want that. They're like, you have to, because you are owned, right? And this is how it is. You have to take all these shots in order for your medical profile to be green. Because if it's red, it means somebody's going to be barking at you, and
You can't
can
identify
now,
as
you're
somebody
you're
that
non-deployable. You can't train. You can't do anything. No, I mean, I wish it worked that way, but that stuff only works in certain realms.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so whatever happened, my white blood cells started attacking each other and my esophagus because they thought we're
Which are
at war.
called eosinophils.
Yeah, the
Those
eosinophils.
specific types.
Yeah, it's a specific type of white blood cell that lives in your esophagus, and so so they go to war with each other and themselves, and then attack your own cells and then damage you.
It's like an inflammatory response where the esophagus is getting all this inflammation,
Right.
and that's why you get an impaction.
Yeah,
Because it's so inflamed. The tissues just become so
yeah.
aggravated.
So
So
whatever.
this is something you have to live with now still? Have you had any?
So, I mean, I'll have this for life. It's going to be a part of it, and I have to do certain things and deal with it. I have to every year to 2 years. I have to get a dilation where they knock me out and they stretch out.
Like a throat expander almost.
Exactly like that.
The balloon.
And, yeah, it's like a
Jeez.
balloon
That's
that
what
they.
it is?
Yeah,
They just like get it back.
Dilating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope
And
it stays long enough, and
then
over time it just
does that. Because you have to be on medication and stuff, and yeah, unique.
So your
unique
military
experience.
career
Yep.
was over, or what
yep,
happened?
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, they tried for as long as they
trial
can.
and error
Yes.
medication.
I went through different procedures and things, and okay, let's try this and let's see if we can get your numbers, because they're like, if we can get your numbers just to like an acceptable amount, you can keep doing your job, you can go do cool stuff. But if not, they can't risk sending me and you to the middle of nowhere to go do certain things, and then I choke on my MRE, and what do? You're like, oh crap, now what do I do? Now we're both now we're both compromised, so it makes sense.
Sure.
So then through, a couple of years of trying things and this and that, the GI doc that I dealt with, the last time I saw him, he was like, hey man, I'm gonna submit, he was like, the powers that may be, they want to know what's going on, and are you going to be healed? Are you going to whatever? So I'm recommending you for medical separation.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then, so when it came to it, they were like, hey, you can stay in if you want, just here's your list. What other jobs would you want? And I was like, can I fly helicopters? And they were like, nope. And I was like, what can I do? And they're like, well, you can have a job that you're tied to a desk.
Recruiting.
And you can do a desk job. But here's the thing. At the end of my contract, which was only a couple of years later, you can't re-enlist. Because of that thing that flags you that says you're not fit for service. So
would you be medically discharged, or would your
Yes.
contract just be expired at that point?
well, at that time you would go through the medical process, and and so that's just what happened. What made
you continued. You finished your contract, or you did the
because
discharge?
because the people were like, hey, listen, this is going to happen anyway, so we can go this route and we can just expedite the process, which is going to happen anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
So we have all this stuff kind of like stacked against you.
Were you bummed out, or were you all like kind of accepting at that point?
I mean, it's a hard
Both.
thing to swallow.
hey,
Literally.
Right. No pun
Has that been
intended.
an ongoing pun?
Yeah, pretty much. So
When he told you that night, you're like, this must be hard to swallow.
right.
Here's some Prilosec.
But yeah, it's tough because when you do something like that, it becomes a part of your identity, like I'm an artist, I'm a soldier, I am whatever. And, you get indoctrinated, obviously, when you do certain things, and you expect to do certain things, and you have, goals and plans and dreams and whatever down these lines. And then when they're like, well, we're going to just pull that from you. So good luck, go do whatever, just not this. You're like, well, who am I? I just wasted the past 7 years of my life. And then, the stuff in the Navy kind of like, tied in with what I was doing in the Army. And I was just like, wow, now what? So then what a lot of people do when they leave the military is they go, what's the next best thing that I'm going to get this adrenaline and I can jump out of helicopters and do crazy stuff? Law enforcement. And that was kind of like the idea. I was like, I got it. And I was like, okay, I got it. I'm going to go in law enforcement. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go. I was like, I'm going to show them. I'm going to crush their little PT test. I'm just going to, I'm not even going to pass it. I'm going to set the record because I'm so special, right?
I've seen Police Academy 1.
I've seen Police Academy. Yeah, special, Just don't give me a swallowing exercise because I'll fail.
Everybody, same time. You take this chicken, you put it in your mouth, you chew. You hear me? And he's like,
yeah, got it. But so what's funny, there was another crazy line of things that happened. And in the meantime, while I was, in the Army, our goal was to end up on land. So we were in the process of buying a piece of land. We're going to build and everything. And then last minute we pulled out because we realized that there was a huge easement issue and we were going to lose like 3 or 4 acres. And I was like, we're done. And as we left this property the day and we're kind of bummed, we're like, now we got to start the search over. We drove down this one highway and I was like, hey, there's a for sale sign on that property. That wasn't there an hour ago. Mm-hmm. And I popped a U-turn, pulled in, and I was like, oh my gosh, this place is freaking amazing. There's like all these trees and there's land. And I was like, there's at least 3 acres. That's better than, a backyard with a HOA. Mm-hmm. So she called the agent and the agent was like, she's like, oh my gosh, I literally just put that sign in the yard. This thing's not even on the market yet. Good. And we're like, good, mm-hmm. Let's keep it that way. And luckily this agent sucked at her job. Because we were like, how much is it? And she was like, I don't remember. It's either this or this. And I'm like,
just put the sign in.
We were like, we want to work with you. And so she was like, hey, she was like, when do you want to see it? And I'm like, now. And she was like, well, I'm back in Destin or whatever. And next day we met up with her and made an offer right there. Ended up being 11 acres and got accepted. And boom, there you go. About 2.5, almost 3 years later, we've been doing this thing. And, now we got 7 cows, 12 pigs and ducks and chickens and all sorts of stuff, so that's kind of
goats.
Yeah. So, but
forget the goats.
So in the goats, which they're about to have some little babies.
Kids.
So we'll have some
goat
kids.
milk.
Goat milk. We'll have the raw goat milk. How illegal can it be? Not illegal, but you know what I'm saying. So what's funny? So check this out real quick. So when I decided we were already on this property, I was like, hey, this makes sense. Let me just go into law enforcement. And they're like, hey, you got to come do this PT test. And so 6 days before my PT test, I snapped my Achilles on the property working out. Literally like scaling my workouts back. I'm like, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just going to do these vertical jumps and, kick the ball and, like have a fun workout outside. I snapped my Achilles. I'm talking about like
the worst thing
like
ever.
It snapped. It popped. I was, 100% disabled right there.
You went to take a step and then felt like the ground just wasn't there.
Oh no. So I did these vertical jumps with a sprint. And as soon as I did like 50 of them and I didn't feel anything. It's not like I was like, I got to slow down. I feel something. I felt fine. And I did another one. I jumped and as soon as I landed, pop. And luckily,
on the land
we have it on camera.
and we have it on camera because luckily, I was like
on camera.
Wait, yeah,
so old school.
Yeah, we have the video of it because
videotape.
Yeah, because towards the end of it, I was like, hey, take a video of me. I'm gonna do these trick
Watch
shots.
this.
Check
like
this out, guys. Yeah, watch me. And you can hear it just like pop. And what's
to send
funny
it to us so we can put it on this podcast.
Yeah. So it's funny. I had like a little TikTok account with like 2 videos, and I was like, let me put this on there. It went viral. I was like, you freaks, you
You're
guys
like, I also
to
sell raw milk if anybody's interested.
hey, raw milk, get me. So but check how unique this is, right? Again, with these spiritual things to tie it into this. So this happened 6 days before I was supposed to go take this little PT test. This was like a Thursday, right? I think this happened. Mm-hmm. The Sunday before, right? So backtrack to the Sunday, right? Like 4 or 5 days. Her mom contacts us the morning, and she was like, hey, do you guys want to come check out this new church with us here in Crestview? I'm like, yeah, sure. Well, let's go check it out with you. So we go, and I'm like, oh, cool. They got coffee. I love coffee. Drink a lot of coffee. And I was like, cool, got my little cup, go sit there. And I'm like, this is kind of like, whatever, touchy-feely or kind of like whatever, kind of like, okay. But what's unique, check this out. Check this out. The pastor started talking about his sermon revolved around a movie, right? And the movie is called Troy. Have you seen it?
Brad Pitt.
The lead actor, Brad Pitt, plays Achilles. Right? Kind of freaky.
Yeah, that's freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next day, so this was Sunday. The next day, a buddy of mine that lives down here in Santa Rosa Beach, he was in Dallas, and there was a Formula One Grand Prix thing happening in Dallas. So he went out for it and checked it out. He texts me. He was like, hey, bro, I'm at the Formula One thing. And I'm like, yeah, send me some videos and pictures, you know, because we grew up watching that stuff, like super cool. And he was like, yeah, check this out. Look who I just bumped into. He sends me a picture of guess who?
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Not Achilles, but
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
So the day before, there's a sermon about Achilles. Actor is Brad Pitt.
Wow.
No way.
The next day, I get a picture of Brad Pitt.
way.
Like I'm talking like 50 feet away, Brad Pitt. 2 days later, I snap my Achilles.
Coincidence or fate?
Is that the window opening?
Right.
Like, hey,
That's what I'm saying. Like,
good luck. You're
yeah.
cute. Enjoy that little,
Yeah.
that village.
So-
What's it called?
So that's kind of like where we were, you know, like
you having side conversations over here?
What would you go do? Not military.
Law enforcement.
Law enforcement.
Yeah.
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 Like, okay,
Yeah.
that's cute. Go do
Yeah.
your law enforcement.
Yeah, that's cute, but no.
Watch this. Hold my beer.
yeah, we're gonna teach you something. So so after that, there was another whirlwind of lessons and teachings and
And I was 30
emotions
weeks
and
pregnant
growth.
when that happened.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
With our daughter.
So here I am having to get surgery and couldn't
Lovely.
walk, you know. So you go from being this, you know, you think you're so good and special and whatnot, and then it's like, well, you're not gonna walk for a few months, you know, and then rehab and all sorts of crazy stuff. And then
After the career ended in the military.
Yeah.
this was like
Abrupt
3 months.
stop.
This is 3 months after I got out of the military.
Were you angry? Were you?
Of course. I mean, I went through all sorts of like depression and, you know, this and that, you know, because it's like, what the heck, man? Like, what is going on here? Like,
Yeah.
I
It's
love
Very
all the.
hard.
How long did
Very
it take
hard
for you to
season.
put together the Achilles Brad Pitt thing?
Oh, no, it was
At
immediate.
the hospital.
No, there was
when
at
we
the
were
hospital.
sitting there at the hospital,
Yeah.
we started putting all this together and we were like,
Because the conversation, I sat there with my fat foot, you know, and but the whole
was so
time
swollen.
it was so funny
Oh,
because
it's
we even,
bad.
she took a video of me. I walked from the car. I walked into the ER, right?
that
And I was
foot while hobbling.
walking funny, and the way I walked, I even said, excuse the French, but I was like, hey, you should post this, and if people ask why I'm walking so funny, just say I shit my pants, you know, because I was walking real weird.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, it's still joking about it because that's my personality. That's her personality. We take everything pretty lightly. And so when I sat there, you know, I was kind of like, you know, sitting with all these people and stuff. And I just got, it kind of like hit me. I was like, what is going on? What is the purpose of this? There's got to be, you know, like, come on, man. Like, give me a break, you know, like, could I win the lottery? You know, like, let's do something different. Let's do something constructive. And then I sat there and she was like, I don't know. There's got to be something. And I'm like, hang on. You remember the sermon on Sunday? And she didn't because she had to go out with the baby, right? She's like, no, I didn't
hear it.
So she didn't know. And I told her the sermon and she was like, oh my gosh. And then I was like going through my phone, the pictures, and I was like, holy cow. Somebody sent me a picture of Brad Pitt who plays Achilles. And then I snapped my Achilles. It's like, what is going on here? You know?
So looking back at it now, and you're kind of seeing the forest from the trees. Why do you think all that happened? What was the purpose for y'all?
From what I'm gathering, is to pull me away from the direction that I think, you know, it's unique from my experience, and I still believe in God. There's a God. It might not be the God that certain places portray, but there's definitely a creator, a being that knows more than us, right? We're not the smartest thing here. And you can call it God, universe, intelligence, whatever. You can ask questions, right? And you get in your own way, right? It's like, well, hey, help me get there. And it's like, while I'm asking you to guide me, I'm going to get in my own way and I'm going to go, you know, and then sometimes things happen and they go, I have to slow you down because of your personality. I have to put you on your ass.
You're seeking the wrong thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're seeking the wrong thing. You're going
not the
after the
true
wrong
path for
thing.
you.
That's not your path, right?
Let go of
And-
that.
And
Absolutely.
and I guess I can tie it all into this. And I don't know what any of this stuff means, except for I'm probably a little crazy, which is all right.
He forgives himself. You see that?
Right. I forgive myself.
crazy. It's
you know?
okay.
And yeah. So
Got you.
you know, enjoy the entertainment.
I don't think you're crazy
So-
though. That's
so-
that's
No,
the crazy
he's not.
part.
Since the experience with where I literally got put on my ass, couldn't do anything. Like I still played, you know, hop along and try and feed animals and do stuff and wrangle things, even though she had to do most of it. Big belly and. You should have seen how we butchered a turkey with me in a boot. My boot was so I couldn't even stand straight because they put these things in you. I'm here. It was late at night. We had to butcher a turkey. She's like this far pregnant. My mom's out there in the middle of the dark, in the dark, in the middle of the night, and I was like, we gotta kill this turkey. And, dude, we had this
We
thing.
should have filmed that.
Oh my god, this is the most.
You're like, you're lucky you're not dead because I want to kill you, right?
It's the
Yeah,
most
no, it
hillbilly
was
thing.
just-
She
That
grabbed the
was
turkey. We had
hilarious.
to, you know, hold the head because the turkey was like, I've seen this movie. I know what's going on. She grabs the head. My mom's holding the body, and I'm like here with an axe. I can't even stand. It's in the dark, and we're just got like chop the head off. The thing goes crazy. Flings my mom. There's blood everywhere, dude. it was just
In the dark.
It was So that was not a professional proud moment, but you know you got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
And you know, funny now. Now it's funny. You know, back then it was
Freaking rough.
yeah. But since
Why at night though? Why couldn't you do
So-
it the next day?
the thing is, we had to butcher the turkey. I think somebody
It
ordered
needed
the
to
turkey.
rest.
Yeah.
Like when you process your own meat birds, the meat has to
Right.
rest ideally for 24 hours before it's frozen.
Yeah. When you-
Otherwise, you have tough meat.
right.
Yeah.
I
So when
gotcha. Okay.
so when you
Makes
kill
sense.
it, you got to bleed it out, pluck it, you know, take everything out, clean it, make sure everything's good, and then rest it before you freeze.
Okay.
So there's a process, and I think somebody ordered a turkey.
I think we went back and forth. Like, are we going to actually do this or are we not? And then
right.
we got the kids to bed, and
we're
the
just
three
like,
of us were just like, let's just do
Let's
it.
go. Let's just send. And that's kind of like in our household. There's like a kind of like a send it mentality. It's like if it's got to get done, you have to do it. And I teach our kids that all the time. You know, like I had a conversation with them the other day where I was like, hey, sometimes, most of the times, all the time, what has to be done and what you want to do don't always line up. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to want to do it. What you want to do is going to sit on the sidelines, but what you have to do, that thing does not care about your feelings or your emotions or the weather. You just have to do it, you know? So it was kind of one of those deals. But the unique thing about it all, and again, I don't know what any of this means, and I'm open to, you know, things, but we had this one guy who visited us, and he was talking, and he was very, you know, like talking about, you know, spiritual things and all this and God and the Bible, and he was very good. And it's gonna sound crazy because it probably is, but I literally heard a voice in my head, and this is not something that happens. I don't have voices. I mean, I do have voices in my head, but not like this. You know, it was a very distinct. It was you know, when you think, you can hear yourself think in your own voice, or sometimes I'll think in her voice because I'm like, she's smarter than me. I'll think in her voice. But it was a voice that came to me that said, you need to speak, right? And I was like, dude, this guy's name's Greg. I was like, Greg, I don't know what this means, but I heard something. You need to speak, man. You need to speak, you know? And he was kind of like, no, that's not my thing. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Well, that was weird. Like, maybe my coffee was just too strong tonight, you know? And then a few weeks later, we had another cool, like call it a church experience or whatever. And I heard this voice again, like, you need to speak. And it was to the point where I turned around because I thought somebody was behind me.
Wow.
It wasn't like me going, oh, I heard right here, you need to speak. And I was like, where did that guy just go? And I was like, this is freaking me out a little bit. Right. And then there was a third instance where that happened. And I was just like, okay, what is going on here? I don't know what any of this means, but this, since you guys asked us to talk on the podcast, 2 other people did the same thing in the same
Shut
week.
up.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, what is going on here? Like there's this, just randomly reached out and they're like, hey man, we want you in the podcast. You need to come talk.
It's time.
And I was like, okay, whatever that's worth. You know, maybe there's, I'm not saying I'm going to be the next Anthony Robbins or anything like that necessarily, but who knows? Maybe there's one person out of 1,000 people that watch this that something gets said that make them go, or change what they do or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it's for. I mean, we'll see.
You're just here.
Yeah.
You're just in the presence and
Happy to be here.
what comes out,
Right.
and then just
Yeah.
see who it impacts along the way. But I really think that next podcast is, this has been incredible.
I mean, there's a lot of people that have been in your shoes with the military thing.
Right.
They don't know what to do after.
Yes.
And they
I think
drive
that's a
themselves
big
crazy.
part of it.
Yes.
They go down the wrong rabbit hole and they don't have the openness you do to
Yes.
see or hear that message. And maybe
Yeah.
you're there to give that message.
Many
Maybe
are
so.
called, few are chosen.
Right.
Sounds like you've been chosen, my friend.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah.
But also behind that, it requires you also to be chosen and your whole family to be
Right.
chosen. And that's that responsibility that can be overwhelmingly exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think that, like you touched on with the men exiting the military, there's just a void that you step into. And there needs to be more voices sharing that that's not who you are. And you can be okay outside of that.
not
And
your
you
identity.
can have worth outside of that. And you can still have dreams and aspirations outside of that that can actually amount to a whole lot more than that did. You know, that was just a stepping stone to take you where you are. And that's where we are now.
I love it. I have two things to bring it full circle. And is your sister here? Is that Sunny out there? Okay.
No, just some babies in there.
I'm like, we're talking about voices and I hear I'm like,
voices.
this is bad.
I hear voices too. Mine's a baby.
Two things. Two things. One, just lead me from the point of, and if briefly, if you don't mind, just from where you had the medical discharge to starting the farm. What helped you get to that point? Because I know it was probably a hindrance, breaking your Achilles. But now, what kind of opportunity did that provide for you?
So the farm got started while I was still in the military, in the Army, and we started actually kind of pretty quick with
Yeah, we went all in.
all in pigs, ducks. Actually, what happened is before we even left the HOA, and you can't have anything but a dog, maybe. I was like, I don't care. We're leaving here. We've still got another couple months. I'm going to build a chicken coop and we're going to have chickens in the backyard. Don't care. What are you going to do about it?
In the
and
actual
that's-
HOA.
Yeah.
Like, I'm leaving anyways. What are you going to
Yeah,
do?
what are you
Yeah,
gonna do?
we
Kick
did.
me out? And so we had chickens, and because we were committed, we're like, this is the path. This is where we got to go. And then so as soon as we got to the property, man, and things just again unique. It's kind of like being guided in a way, if you want to call it that, if you want to be that crazy. But I was like, hey, we need to get some pigs. Let's find some pig, and we're like, we don't even know where to start, right? Like, let's see. And she looked on Facebook some, and I was like, hey, look on Craigslist. I mean, all good things come from Craigslist, right? And
Nothing could go wrong.
Creepers, creepers.
So she found this post. She was like, hey, there's somebody not far from us that just posted about a pig, and it says here that she's pregnant. She's about to have her litter. And I was like, oh man, that's got to be expensive. How much? And she was like,
Not expensive.
$200. And I'm like,
It's
hang on.
shocking when you find out pigs are not expensive.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, what?
You raise the hogs and sell them.
Right.
Meet later.
And then so we meet up with the guy the next day. Super nice. He ended up becoming our mentor. This guy in his 70s, wealth of knowledge, very, very unique. That can be another podcast in its own. This dude was way
life.
different life. I'm talking about biker gangs and prison and all sorts of, I mean, this dude was
I like it.
he was a little he did things that cannot be spoken about, and but he ended up talking. I mean, he didn't talk.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. But this guy ended up changing his life completely, went into farming, and same thing. You just walking on his farm, you're like, oh my gosh, all your stuff is just like growing phenomenally, like blueberries, like whatever this dude does, and so he coached us a lot and helped me with like fencing and all sorts of stuff, and very cool. Very just how does that happen? You know what I'm saying? Like we're just looking for a little pig, and here we end up with 12.
If you're looking for an old biker felon on Craigslist, your odds are pretty high.
Find him.
He ended up helping me actually haul the pigs to the
Yeah.
butcher though while I was pregnant because he couldn't drive
Right.
Yeah.
when he tore his Achilles. So he
Yeah.
saved us.
Yeah, and when because what
It was
happened?
a big part of us
when-
having meat to sell last
success,
year.
our success is directly related to this guy, because right after my Achilles surgery, when I got home, or before I got home, they put me on OxyContin, and I didn't know, but I had an allergic reaction to this. I mean, literally.
The dude was losing his mind.
Oh
You
my
like,
gosh.
what is this guy made out of as you guys are married? It's like the 5th thing in a row. You're like, am I just going to put you in a bubble?
Right, I know, right?
Do it.
Bubble boy.
I couldn't.
And you have to feed him liquids like twice a day.
Dude, I couldn't. I mean, the thing I said when I literally woke up and opened my eyes, I pretty much yelled it, but I don't know. Should I say it?
Of course,
Yeah.
got it this
I don't
far.
remember.
Yeah, now
so just
she's
go
all
for
right.
it.
Okay.
She's all right.
Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah.
Gopher.
As soon as I woke up, because there was some stuff in my IVs, I woke up and I was like, my balls are itchy.
Oh, you're talking about that.
They're like, okay, sir,
And he called
put
the
him out.
nurse.
we'll call your wife.
He called the male nurse. What'd you call that guy with that haircut?
G.I. Joe.
Yeah. You're like, okay, G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
You're all.
Because he had that.
Oh, I was so out of it, dude. I was like, I don't care. I was like, hey, I like your haircut. And he's like, oh, thanks. I was like, you look like G.I. Joe. And he was kind of like, it's an asshole.
Yeah.
You know? And
Okay, douchebag.
so I was having super weird reaction to it while they're trying to load these 300-pound hogs in the back of a trailer. And so the guy in his 70s came out and he helped out. He's like, I got it. I'll load these hogs for you.
The reaction was itching in like
Entire body.
feeling like he was
Oh.
itching on the under his skin.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was
from the painkillers.
yes.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about
awful.
pigs.
Yeah.
He didn't take
No,
any more after
Yeah.
that.
Nope.
He was
Now
just
you
like,
learn
no.
quick.
Never
Then-
again. So I
yeah.
just dealt with the pain.
Tylenol.
Tylenol.
Tylenol that you had another reaction from.
No,
But
his-
we won't go into that.
no.
You just seem sensitive to that
down,
stuff, you know?
All natural. You should like start a farm or something and just move out instead.
Yeah. Right. That would work.
My last question is, you said that this admiral came in when you were in the ICU, right? Or some higher up.
Yeah.
What do you think? Tie that in, because I think we left that part hanging. Did he know maybe something?
No.
What
He
was-
knew.
What was the
Yeah.
tie-in?
So what happened?
Someone's
what-
gonna die on my base. I better go see him.
Right. So I think what happened is when I had this thing happen and they're like, oh, this dude is on the brink of bleeding out and dying here. We need to obviously, we have a saying in the military that bad news does not get better with time, right? Deal with it, take it to your higher command, take it up the chain as far as you need to deal with it locally, but take it up to your command, your chain of command if you have to. And they obviously had to report this. And this dude got wind of it. And this happened obviously in the middle of the night and whatever. And when the word got to this dude was up at 4 a.m.
Doing a
because
workout.
his day is stacked and he was running around on base. And then I guess he got a call or a text like, hey, this is what happened. And he was like, I got to go see this dude now. So, and he came in and like I say, I remember waking up like this and I was like, and he's like, hey, I'm Colonel so-and-so and whatever. And shook my hand and he was dripping sweat. And I was like, this is not normal.
Why do you think he was sweating? He
just did his workout. No, I mean, he just did his workout. He was running
He didn't
base.
take time to go change.
Yeah, he didn't even. He literally,
I
he
gotcha.
literally did his workout, and he just came right there, and he and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but kind of weird. And then
Big fan.
yeah, big fan. Yeah,
I don't know if
his
he was
autograph.
sweating because maybe there was like some hidden
Nerves.
responsibility, like
No,
we did this to him. Okay,
Right, and
got
then,
it.
yeah, and
Makes
then
sense.
and then throughout the day, all these doctors would literally every 5 minutes, like, hey, how are you feeling? Hey, how's your throat? Hey. I was like, this is a lot.
yeah.
Then they had to scan him. You had to drink this stuff,
Yeah.
and they had to like
Oh,
do
yeah,
this
turn off
test
the light when
on
they see
him
where it goes.
to make sure the
That it didn't-
perforation
yeah.
was healing.
Whoa.
It wasn't tearing open more.
Did he have an allergic reaction to that too?
Luckily enough.
His whole body just lit up.
Not that one.
Fun fact: I am like you.
Yeah.
When they have side effects for medication, it's for people like me. I'm the reactor.
Yep.
I just can't do it. I can't do it. So I
We
get
don't
it.
really take any medication.
And that's the thing.
Take anything.
I don't either. I
Yeah,
can't.
we don't do. We
Tylenol,
don't.
nothing.
Yeah.
If I do, it's
don't.
bad. You know, like if
We have friends come over and they're like, "Do you have an Advil or Tylenol?" And we don't even have pills
We don't,
now.
yeah.
So we're like, "Sorry."
Sorry.
I'm like, I have some salt. You want some salt water? You have a migraine?
So-
Do you
Yeah.
need some
They're like,
baking soda for your heartburn?
Yeah, some baking soda and water.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it works.
Yeah, it does.
People just
Yeah.
reach for the pill. We're so conditioned to like medicine.
Yeah, because what you want to do is
Can't
when
stand it.
you have something go on in your body,
Numb it.
you want to numb it. Instead of when your car's check engine light comes on, you can go unplug it and be like, "Oh, that took care of that." No, it didn't. You're going to end up with bigger problems. You got to go fix it right now. Your body's telling you, "Hey, something's going on. You need sleep. You need water. You need something."
People just want the check engine light off.
That's it. Yeah, I'm good. I can make it. Give me a few Red Bulls and Monsters, and I'll just
I'll pass the smog test. That's all.
yeah. That's all. That's all that matters.
Pay
you know?
someone to
I
pass it
think
for
Florida
you.
doesn't have a smog test.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's next for you guys? I saw
Hopefully
you.
a bigger property.
I was gonna say I saw you posted up.
Growth. Yeah,
Okay.
growth. That's just been, again, another very unique, not forced by us from the outside, organically happened kind of thing. We got put in touch with a person that
Wants
talked
to
to
invest
us.
in
Yeah.
us.
Great.
talked to us, believes our story. I'm not believes our story. I mean, he
Believes
he
in
gets
you.
it. He believes
Yeah.
in us and our story and the thing, and he's all about it. And he's going to be a huge part of this.
His name's Bill Gates.
Kind of.
Definitely not.
Not that guy. No, not that guy.
Not that Bill, the other Bill.
I mean, he can come to the farm.
Yeah.
He might,
Well,
Leave on the-
McDonald.
Might leave at
Might
the
not
train
leave.
station.
yeah, take him to the train station.
Easy. Don't want to have a threat on the podcast. I don't want to get shot down.
Hey, Bill Gates
yeah.
gets went to this podcast. We made it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, you've made it.
You
But
never know.
yeah, so we're looking at a potentially 161 acre property
That's
here
it?
this week. Yeah, that's all, But see, that's the thing. And what's funny is when we left North Carolina, I was like, man, if I can just have 10 acres, just 10 acres. And as soon as you have 10 acres, you're like, I need more land.
You realize how small it feels once you get to
right,
10.
I need, yeah,
Your neighbors are on top of you all of a sudden.
Yeah. Luckily, we don't have neighbors, but that's kind of what was funny. The first day we, slept at the property. The next morning, I was like, hey, it was like 7 a.m. I was like, hey, I'm going to shoot my shotgun in the woods. Do you think? I was like, do you think the neighbors are going to care? And it kind of, she was like, what neighbors? And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
See you in an hour.
Where can people find you guys if they're interested in buying milk or your meat products?
So to someone local in the area, we can be found. We have a Facebook page with our actual farm name, which is Freestate Farm. Or on Instagram, we are still Panhandle Pines. We have not merged. We have a Freestate Farm account, but we're trying
Not
to
really active.
merge those two accounts, or we just haven't quite decided what we're doing that with that. But we're there.
Are you at farmers markets or local areas
yet.
people can go purchase?
So we do drop offs. We have Pensacola area that we do. Then 30A we do drop offs weekly. And when I say we, she does the drop offs. I do the dirty work, and then we keep the pretty face to deal with the people.
You chase the turkeys.
I
and the
chase the
pigs.
turkeys and step in the cow poop, and she does the presentation. So she does a
We
better
do it
job.
together sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
we
but
can.
Wednesdays and Saturdays we meet up in 30A, and and sometimes we have people come to the property. Not actually to the property. We have a park next to the property because I'm like, I don't quite know if I want a bunch of strangers just on our property, And but so we do that, and then little unique thing about the name, the two things, I guess, to maybe finish it up with. The Panhandle Pines thing is because of my last name. In South Africa, a lot of people with my last name get the nickname Pine, right? We also have a lot of pine trees on our property. So I was like, we're in the Panhandle. So, mathematician put it together.
I like it.
So we came up with that. And then one day I was messing with the pigs fencing in the woods, and I was, and I was like, man, like this was like a couple of years ago. And I was like, we got to name this property something. And I was like, so where I grew up in South Africa is the state is called the Free State, right? And what's Florida known for? Being the Free State. Mm-hmm. Here's another funny one. The full name of the state in South Africa is the Orange Free State. What's Florida?
A lot of synchronicities,
isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, Free State Farm, here we go.
I like it.
Well, in Free States, it's also like a mindset,
Yeah.
and just a way of living in freedom, and what that truly means. And food is a big part of that.
Yeah.
What you're taking in, not just nutritionally, but like what you take in, who you spend your time with. It's a part of actually having freedom. And with him, with the health condition, we didn't really get to that part, but it opened up. We were already naturally minded in the way we ate and lived, but it just like opened that doorway wide open, because I knew, like, yes, the doctor said this is incurable, but I'm like, yeah, right. Watch us.
Right.
And we've already, like, his symptoms that he was having when he got that diagnosis is drastically different now. And I think
you can control it. I mean, there's ways of controlling it through like elimination diets and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you get rid of the junk, right, your motor is going to run better at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so simple. It's so easy. So, so yeah, that's a big part.
As long as we can somehow control that mouth pleasure directing us to the food and
Yes.
just actually take in what is good for
Right.
us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So people can DM you, do a direct order with you, or meet up with you. Good. We're going to plug your
for now.
information down
Right. It's all
below
gonna
for
be
now.
listed.
Yeah.
I can't wait, guys. You already promised. So I'm not going to beg.
We're going to do this again.
We
'cause
are
this
gonna
could go
have
on.
to.
I feel like we could just talk for
I
hours.
know.
We can be here
sure.
for days.
We have to, because I want to get into all of that side of it. I think it's such a big component.
And we're going to come out to the farm and do an actual piece on you
Yes.
out there.
Yeah, we'd love to do that if you guys are open. We'd love to feature
Yeah.
you and
Yeah, that'd be cool.
give you a platform to really help tell the story from a visualization standpoint with media.
And you never know. It might be sooner than you think, and we might be on 160 acres.
Hey,
Let's
might,
go.
Might need to bring a drone out to
Yeah,
just
we
film
have.
it all.
He-
There you go.
he's
Couple of
he's
those.
brilliant.
There you go.
He's
There you go.
brilliant. I'm telling you, we could just tell him like, and I'll tell this to everybody. I'm like, David, I want you to go like bleep 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 bleep. And somehow he reads my mind.
Yeah, he knows the language.
He just he's my dolphin.
Beeps and the boops. All right. Yeah.
This is my dolphin.
So she sends me off and
Video dolphin.
Go find
go
it.
back. I give her a signal.
Sometimes it's a
done.
shopping cart. Sometimes it's gold. You just never know what you're gonna get. Yeah, but thank you guys both so much for your time and for educating people that they do have options, and for just being the example in the world where it's just chaos and you're breaking patterns, and it's very apparent, and we're so grateful for you both. Keep going, and if there's anything we can do to support you along the way, please don't hesitate to ask.
That's right.
Yeah, just
Thank you
be
guys.
just be raw. Do
Milk.
it real. Men need to be men. Family need to be strong. That's it.
I love it.
Take care of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And keep your throats clear.
Yep.
Yep. Eat your beef jerky. Chew it good.
Chew up the meat, spit out the bones.
Drink raw milk. Chew your food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Take it
Thanks,
easy.
guys.
Bye bye.
See ya.